Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the live stream. This is the last live stream until June. So it's not the last ever, but just until June. And it is going to be a good one tonight. I mean, they're all good, but this one is going to be great. So my guest tonight on the final live stream of the season, until I inevitably return at the end of June, is the one and only Bradley Pleasure, aka B Pleasies on Twitter. He is an accidental artist, a warrior who trained Jiu-Jitsu for the majority of his life, teaching and doing seminars around the world. The transition from warrior to artist began when traveling in Nepal, where he acquired a near-fatal respiratory disease that changed his life. No longer able to train martial arts, Bradley found strength in painting on vintage doors salvaged from local demolitions around his childhood home. The recovery experience accidentally launched his new life as an artist. Or you could say that the artist always inside him continued, just expressing itself in a different form. In moving from punches to paintbrushes, Bradley once said about this experience, I learned that we often only express fragments of our totality, and that it is through the courage of imagination that we become free to truly express. He is an excellent artist, and he has a t-shirt store with some of the best designs I have ever seen. I'm personally convinced that he is on a mission to bankrupt me because I want all of them. He's also an occasional podcast host on Ghost Stories for the End of the World. His most recent interview was with Mark Pilkington, the writer of the UFO classic Mirage Men. And tonight he is here to tell us all why the infamous Patterson Gimlin film is not a hoax. Please welcome in Bradley.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's an honor. Also, that bio was Jeremy Corbell's.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you would have picked up on that.
I said to Tanner, I was like, this bio is slightly whimsical. It's very like personal.
That was the bio for his YouTube video for his art exhibition, Women in Sunglasses.
I can't believe that you fucking got me like that. That is unreal.
Anyways, I'm Bradley. I'm 29. I teach tennis, and I'm a guy. Just a guy. Just a normal guy.
Oh my God. Well, now I want to kind of crawl into a hole and die because I didn't pick up on the I did kind of think I even said to Tanner, I was like, but I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to be rude. How was I to know? You know?
I guess I'm a bigger Corbell head.
I should have asked you before the show. Fucking brilliant. Well, we're off to a great start. Thank you for joining me. Before we get into what we're here to talk about, I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everyone on these streams. When did you first start getting an interest in topics like Bigfoot, UFOs, Forteana, all the interesting stuff?
Very concrete backstory. I came across Lauren Coleman's Cryptozoology A to Z when I was in 5th grade. And all I wanted after that was for the Loch Ness Monster to be my best friend and hang out with me. And I just fucking loved it. I couldn't give it up. I totally get why people like Roger Patterson just like hear about Bigfoot and they're just fucking hooked. But I eventually, like, same section of the bookstore, got into UFOs after that. And fucking here I am. A couple personal UFO experiences too, but it's a different show.
Well, you're welcome to talk about it if you want to talk about it.
If it comes up.
Okay. Well, it's totally up to you. So when did you become like actively like researching these kind of topics? Like what kind of made you go from being somebody that's just kind of reading about it to somebody that's like actively like making the case for it?
For what?
For like Bigfoot, etc.
Oh, okay. I mean, I always thought Bigfoot was real just because I saw the footage and it's a Bigfoot. I mean, but anyways, I had it's actually a funny transition. I had my first UFO experience in between 8th and 9th grade during the summer. and it was just like this ball of light that was serpentining in the night sky behind my house, and then it sort of just went right back the same way it came, done nice and slow, like it was out for like a pleasure stroll. And I had been into UFOs at that point, but I never actually took it really seriously. So first week of school, I went to go see what books the library had, and I stole Nick Pope's Open Skies, Closed Minds.
Oh God. I'm glad you stole it.
I almost brought it back recently because I was honored at the halftime of the homecoming game because I won a tennis state championship and it was the 10-year anniversary, and I was thinking about bringing it back. But then I was like, but I don't want anybody else to read it. And it didn't matter. They got rid of the library. There's just no library.
Oh God, that's kind of sad.
But yeah, so I guess I started taking it more seriously then, and then it's just sort of a tacit thing. It never really actually wasn't like a driving interest or anything. I was playing competitive tennis. I was in the Army Reserve. Like I was going to school. I was busy. But then I left school, and then Tom DeLonge did his thing, and that's when it, I guess, really picked up.
So like the 2017 kind of like era.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great like background. I knew most of the sort of cliff notes of most things, but then I started like reading, because I was like, this is bullshit, obviously.
So I mean, let's go like right into it. Do you want to start? Like, I don't know where you want to begin with this of like making the case. We can start wherever you want to start.
Actually, I made a note for this. In your tweet promoting this live stream, you said that I'll be, quote, presenting the case for the Patterson Gimlin film not being a hoax. The fact that language that you use there, that I'm making the case for the reality of something, that something's like real, like the fact that I have to make a case to people that it is a legit thing, as opposed to, because I mean, it's self-evident, it's there, it's in the footage, like that is evidence. And the fact that like I have to do this and you use that framing when the whole thing is self-evident in the PGF itself, the minutia surrounding the story, how it came to be, everybody's testimonies, illustrates just how deeply ingrained into everybody's brains that the Patterson Gimlin film is a hoax, which is fucking crazy because it's never been debunked. It's been dismissed as a hoax without evidence, and I shouldn't be having to make the case that a big upright ape was walking through that clearing in Bluff Creek that day, because that's what the video shows. And also, the skeptics are the fucking conspiracy theorists here.
They're not gonna like that.
I'm not the conspiracy theorist. The skeptics and the patty haters are the conspiracy theorists. I'm normal and reasonable. You're the fucking drug addicts, not me.
So don't say anything libelous. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
That's the end of my note.
Okay, so I guess I use that framing because, like you said, it is like in everybody's mind, it is a hoax, right? That is the perception of it. So it is like, unfortunately, you do kind of, well, I guess I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of where we've gotten to with like discussion about Bigfoot. Is like unfortunately it's a point of like having to convince people.
Yeah, I mean, there is no like real going back after like just decades of it Bigfoot being like associated with like ghosts of Elvis on tabloids at the checkout aisle. Like,
yeah, like
there's no going
weekly
back.
world news stuff. Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly. And I guess in more recent years, it's kind of been again like co-opted by people like David Paulides missing 411 kind of stuff.
Yeah, very right wing. It's like a right wing like symbol almost. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's gotten kind of weird. So where do you want to start in terms of like showing stuff? Don't feel like you've got to like make a case. Just tell us, somebody who's never seen this before.
Well,
so I can throw up pictures,
perfect.
I can throw up the video, I can throw up whatever you want.
Let's see. View the photos. I mean, basically, like, this was a I guess we should start with the characters at play here, who are Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin. Roger Patterson, young, sort of not rebellious, but he was never actually, I have a better place to start. We got Brian Dunning's debunk of it.
Okay.
Brian Dunning of Skeptoid, NPR funded insane fake news outlet. He did a debunk of the PGF, I think in 2014.
Right.
And this is how it goes. I'm going to read slightly at length.
Okay.
Once I get through all my t-shirt pictures and find it.
Oh, is this the bit that you sent me on Twitter?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the conclusion of his debunk. Okay. This guy is funded by NPR, by the way, and is a convicted felony criminal. He's been to prison. Says that. Anyways, in 1967, Roger Patterson was a young man, only 41 years old. He was strong and exuberant, an amateur boxer known for walking on his hands on the small town's main street, too lazy to take a regular job, too much in love with his wife Patricia, and too many stars in his eyes to stick within the confines of the even flamboyant rodeo. He was inwardly happy but outwardly grumpy, frustrated with society's conventions that expected him to be less than he wanted to be. But even at that young age, 41, he was dying of cancer. Roger may have had a year left or 5, and his thoughts were consumed with providing for his beloved wife while still being the rascal that he needed to be. When Roger put that film cartridge into the camera, it wasn't with the careful eye of a cinematographer. I'll get back to that. Nor was it with the deliberate mischief of a hoaxer. It was with the vivacity of a happy-go-lucky shortcutter, a candle doomed to burn half as long and desperate to burn twice as bright. His thoughts were on Patricia and was squeezing in one final success, a roll of the dice, a lottery ticket. If his Bigfoot movie failed, he would die as the obscure debtor as which he'd been cut out. But if he won, he'd be the flash in the pan that he needed to be to sustain his wife and justify his years of skylarking. Roger Patterson made the gamble he needed to make. The Wheel of Fortune spun, and as it does every once in a great while, it made Roger the winner. It turned Bigfoot into a real monster that walked across the clearing and into legend and permanence. Just over 4 years later, Roger Patterson lay in bed and drew his final breaths. The film had been a great success and brought in a constant stream of money unlike anything he'd ever known. Patricia securely owned enough of the film rights to sustain herself. When he finally closed his eyes, Roger went to that Bigfoot pasture in the sky without ever having compromising the eternal youth that was in his makeup to be, he never paid his bills. He never sold an hour of his life. He never put in an honest day. He never put in an honest day of someone else's work. He never sacrificed his lack of principles. He never gave up being untrustworthy and living his years on his own terms. Yet, perhaps it was that instance on being who he was that caused him to outlive nearly everyone else of his day. Even as a hoax, the Patterson Gimlin film is perhaps the most honest film ever made. What the fuck is wrong with you? First of all,
I mean, that's a little rude.
It's very rude. All these people rely on is slandering the dead man. Yeah, this is just one shocking thing about that is the lack of evidence to back up his claims. Because there is none. Again, dismissed as a hoax without evidence. And this is the type of shit that the skeptics have to rely on, is shit like this, slandering dead people when there is still a man alive who was there that day and maintains it was real and is pretty much... Want to play that clip of Bob Gimlin? It is number...
The number 4 is the one on the podcast.
Yeah, that's from Astonishing Legends interview with him, and it is just listen to this guy talk.
Okay.
You once said that you would never like to experience that again, that whole ordeal. Do you still feel that way? And if you did, would you tell people about it, or would you keep it secret?
No, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't really just broadcast it. I would tell the chosen few that really meant something to. And yes, I'd like to have the same experience, but I'd work at it a little bit different. I would try to convince her, don't walk away from me. Try to be able to show some friendship or something without any hostility. Well, there was no hostility. She didn't have any hostility, but we were rushing things. And it was probably against her will and everything that we were rushing. Everything was going fast. Roger was at her with a camera, and I wouldn't have a camera. I'd just say, hey, let's do something. Let's be friendly, smile a lot, and just not have any hostility of thoughts. When I go into the mountains now, I don't even carry a pocket knife. I don't even carry nothing except maybe some fruit or something to give them, apples or pears or anything, or an orange. They seem to like peanut butter on a jelly sandwich. And by golly, I do all those things. And if they throw sticks and stuff at me, I apologize to them. I just say, hey, I'm sorry. And if I'm just talking to myself, I still do that. And I turn around and I leave because I figure that they don't want me in the area. If they're throwing stuff at you, they could kill you if they wanted to with a stick or a rock or whatever, but they don't. They just throw it to spook you, throw bark and pine cones and different things at you. And I've never really ever had it happen to me, but I've talked to a lot of people that has had it happen to them.
I mean, everybody who meets this man says that it's just like he's the most honest person. Like, he's also lived a crazy life. But big point about Bob Gimlin is that he, all right, I'll back up. Sorry. The impetus for all of this was Roger was obsessed with Bigfoot. Right. Roger Patterson being the guy that Brian Dunning very much slandered, and like he said, he didn't work like normal jobs. He like made carts for kids at fairs and was a rodeo clown. And he was also 5'2", which I think is an interesting fact. Same height as Prince, I believe.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Short kings.
Short kings, 100%. But yeah, Roger was obsessed with Bigfoot. He started using. He wanted to make a film, like a documentary. He'd written a short book called something the Abominable Snowman, which is very interesting. There's a one of my favorite little pieces of Bigfoot lore is there's a little, like, it looks exactly like a cartoon treasure map, and it's where all the most recent Bigfoot sightings have been.
Nice.
It's really funny. But yeah, he wrote a little book about Bigfoot. It was like he had Bigfoot brain. And he wanted to prove it was real, but he didn't really, from what I understand, he didn't actually have that ambition. He was working on a film. I don't think he ever planned to fucking find a Bigfoot. But he was trying to finance a film and finance an expedition. That's the word. To go out with a lot more people and actually try to find something. The reason that he was out there the day he took that film was because he was looking for evidence of Bigfoot. He was looking for hair, footprints, whatever, to convince people that it was worth funding an expedition to go find one, and that this was the spot. And he accidentally just fucking found a Bigfoot. But anyways, but going over to Bob Gimlin. Bob Gimlin was an old friend, and he worked with horses. He trained and broke horses, and that's what he did his whole life. I believe he was 1/4 Cherokee, I think. And he was like an expert tracker. He talks a lot about like riding just like sheer cliff faces with his horses, like where none of the white guys would go. So he would be an ideal partner for this sort of like recon expedition to look for Bigfoot evidence. And he wasn't supposed to be the guy. Rogers ended up running into him in a parking lot. I think it was Bob was looking at Roger's truck. It was a Plymouth pickup truck. He was like, what the fuck? They make pickup trucks? And then Roger comes out. He's like, oh, what's up, dude? And Roger asked him to go with him. Said he'd pay him, which Bob said he is still waiting on. And they go out there for, I believe it was like 3 weeks. I think they took the film around the 20th day out there, like camping, like in the wilderness.
What year was this?
1967 in October.
1967. Okay.
And yeah, that's another thing that's often overlooked is the fact that, I mean, they were out there for 20 days and it was just 2 of them. Like it's not disputed.
So they didn't just go out, find this on the first day and they were like, oh, jackpot, we're done. They were out there for a long time.
Correct.
Right.
There is, let's see.
Had either of them, because I know there was a Bigfoot interest, but had either of them had an encounter before?
I don't think he ever said it, but I think it has been implied that Roger may have, and that was one of the reasons he was so obsessed. Right. It was like he didn't come away with evidence from that one. Right. And he was like, it's hard. I mean, people laugh at you. Like you want to be able to prove that it's real. I think that's a possibility, but no, Bob just never even cared. Like he was not a Bigfoot guy at all. He worked with horses. He's just Roger's pal and was helping a dude out. But yeah, no, they did not just go out there and take the footage. It was also a very long drive. It was like 500 miles from their town. And
because I guess that's the thing, right? That is like that isn't very widely known, because, and again, that kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? That why would you, if you were going to make a fake film, why would you go out for 20 days and drive 500 miles to a remote location when if you were going to just film something that was fake, you could film it anywhere. You could go to any wood.
I mean, Mount St. Helens is one of the biggest like Bigfoot hotspots. It's their backyard. Any forest clearing looks like any other forest clearing. But a skeptic would say that Roger was just 7 steps ahead of everybody. That he planned all that out to make it look convincing like that, which is an insane thing. Like there's like that's one of the things that annoys me about like skeptical cases that don't include a guy I'm about to bring up, but that Roger was just like a secret genius, that he invented the found footage genre, that he was able to make a costume that was impossible to make, that he was just didn't leave behind a shred of evidence that it was a hoax. I mean, we're talking about like almost 60 years. Like, how has it not been picked apart? Like, it should have more holes, but it doesn't. Roger's like, there's nothing in his like character or makeup or anything anybody's ever said about him that would indicate that he's capable of that. One of my favorite, Roger made the suit thing was a lot of the skeptics say he was good at making saddles.
Right.
So I guess that translates to ape anatomy.
Yeah. It's like 2 completely different things.
Yeah. Oh, since we have the Pig Patty's butt up, can you show up number 7?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that number 7? I meant the gorilla one.
Oh, this one.
Yes. Okay. And then go back to the other one.
Okay. This one?
Yeah. Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's
quite
curvature of the back, the way it goes up to the shoulders, the butt's just the same. Like it's like insane.
Should we actually show the film for people that haven't seen it? I'm sure that pretty much everyone has. Okay.
It's up in the Google Drive folder. It's like 3 minutes long. But that one, yeah.
This one.
I thought you meant the full raw one.
No, we'll just do this one.
Yeah, that's
So that's it.
It's incredible.
It is. It's like it is. I guess like one of the things that people always say is the thigh jiggle, right? So if we play it one more time, like the jiggle of the thigh, as she's walking. And why is Patty referred to as a she?
Because she has sicko gazongas. Can you zoom in on those?
Where how do I do that?
Right there.
Wait, there we go.
I mean, those are titties.
Were they making ape costumes
No.
back then with boobs.
No, it would be decades until like realistic flab was like a thing at all. And that was like a big breakthrough in costume making too. I think it was with Norbit, the Eddie Murphy movie.
Right.
I think that was one of the big breakthroughs in that sort of gelatinous flab technology for costume making. But yeah, I mean, like another, just for context, Roger took this again, October 20, 1967. Just months after this, Planet of the Apes and 2001: A Space Odyssey would come out.
Right.
Those ape suits in Planet of the Apes, Rick Baker, one of the greatest to ever do it, debatably the greatest like gorilla maker in Hollywood, like ever. And then Stuart Freeborn did the 2001 ape suits, which were a whole nother fucking thing. Making those was a nightmare. And I guess those would be a more apt comparison to the, because just full body suit thing. But the it's just not possible. Like millions and millions of dollars went into the 2001 suits, the best in the game. It's just not a costume. Just look at it.
Yeah, it's and like you're saying, like the Planet of the Apes movie, like I watched those quite recently, and like you said, that they were like cutting edge at the time,
and there was a lot of promotional material for how sick the costumes were at this time. And in a way, I feel like that has to be another reason why it's like dismissed as a hoax, because everybody had ape costumes on the brain. I have a hard time believing that didn't play a role in it. But yeah, it's unfortunate timing. But yeah, my favorite. Can you show the one of, actually in the Google Drive folder? I put up the full. It's all silent, so we can mute it or whatever. But there's a 3-minute video of the raw footage.
Okay, hang on a second.
Is that something we can talk over?
I think so. Is that one that you put in earlier? Is it like 2 minutes long or 3 minutes?
3.
3. Okay, hang on a second.
Starts with a guy on a horse.
Starts with a guy on a horse.
Oh shit! Did I put it in the wrong folder?
I think so.
That's okay. Talk amongst yourselves.
We're flying by the seat of our pants. I think is the. Oh wait, is this it? Is this it? If you just put it in here. Okay, cool. All right, hang on a second. Hang on a minute. So it doesn't have sound.
Correct.
Okay, cool. That's fine, because we can then just do it by a screen share.
Cool. But yeah, this is the 3 minutes of film. This is the reel of film that's like just raw, uncut of Roger with Bob shooting B-roll and stuff just out there. Because again, he's making a film about Bigfoot. He doesn't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but he's just playing with ideas. He rented this movie camera, getting a bunch of B-roll. They also have the camera to collect any image of Bigfoot evidence they come across. It was never in the plans to actually fucking run into a Bigfoot. Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
So this is the full film. I don't think I've ever actually seen the full film, you know?
Yeah, this is the 3 minutes leading up to the end of the reel. And that's another really interesting thing, is Roger ran out of film shooting Patty.
Right.
Like he literally ran out of film. Which again, skeptics would chalk up to just a stroke of genius. But it's not fucking, it's not in anybody's way of processing it. Like actually like staging something like this. Nobody would do that. Like that is like Hollywood, like Blair Witch shit. Like that is genius.
So where is this filmed?
This is Bluff Creek, California. It's a old logging road, I believe.
Right. And is this somewhere that they like, why did they end up in this area again?
I mean, it's was a fairly popular, or not popular, just Bigfoot sightings were frequent. And there's a guy I should mention called Ray Wallace, who is a fucking fascinating character, just an absolute weirdo. He ran like a lot of the logging companies and stuff. Ah, man, it's so pretty.
Yeah, it is nice. It's just nice B-roll.
Yeah, he was like Ray Wallace was like a industrialist who like also dabbled in like some trickery. He's a jokester. He goofed Roger a couple times with footprints, but he swore like until he's still, no, he's dead, I think, that he had nothing to do with this one.
Right.
And he had in the past, I believe, pointed Roger to Bluff Creek for new prints that he was heard about or something. But that's the Jose Chung's from outer space aspect of this.
Nice. So they're here. So there's only 2 of them that are out here, right?
Yep,
so
correct.
I guess what is the skeptics' argument that they've packed this monkey suit with them, and they're gonna one of them's gonna film it and one of them's gonna wear it?
Yeah, but neither of them are big enough for it. Hold on, it's about to get to the good part, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, beautiful footage. Also, Roger clearly not a shitty camera user. Like he knows how to handle that thing.
Yeah, he's got a very stable grip. It's almost like he's using a steady cam.
He's according to here we go. So Roger has just gotten off his horse at this point. He kind of twisted his ankle a little bit. His horse kind of bucked him off, actually. He's sprinting toward Patty right now.
Right.
Trying to get a better shot. He is now about to enter this, like, sort of... Oh, wait, he already passed him. Maybe it wasn't the full thing. Like, there's a bit where... Man, it's so good.
Do you want me to go back?
Yeah. I think it's like... Is it sped up a little bit, or... Yeah, it's right there. Like, Roger was just coming out of the creek. He just waded through a little creek.
Right.
Also risking his camera. And that embankment was like a story of a house tall that he had to sort of climb up right there. And then he settled there and got the good look back frame. But yeah, and then he just sort of got the money shot. So he just sort of watches it go away. Bob is just out of frame.
Right.
He was, in his words, his only thought was that, my God, they really do exist.
Is that it? They're still walking?
Yep. Look how much ground it covered.
Yeah.
Like, this is very rough terrain too. Like, Roger's falling over himself just trying to get closer to it, and it's like outpacing him.
Yeah.
Like, just taking normal strides.
It's crazy. I've never seen the full video before. Anything I've ever kind of really and I guess, like, this is, you know, the video footage isn't very clear, but the thing that's interesting is that even when you make it super clear, it looks even more convincing.
I mean, that's another thing, is that, like, it almost feels, when you get the good, like, 4K stabilized one, it almost feels like it's so commonplace. It's like, oh, that must be a guy in an ape suit.
Yeah, it's like let's look at the hang on. Let's look at the
Also, just on the image quality tip real quick, the one thing that's often not often considered with this either is that this was shot on film. There is the original film, I can talk about that later, that is currently missing, but there are, I think, like 17 good copies of it, which vary in quality.
So did they make copies of it?
Yeah, there's a bunch of copies.
Right.
But the later generation ones mostly exist today. And they sort of vary in quality a little bit. Some are cropped, some aren't. And the so when none of us have ever actually seen a copy of the film, like, on a fucking film projector. We've only seen it on screens. And with I think it was shot at 16 frames per second, and there's a conversion ratio when you upload to digital where it basically has to add 6 frames that don't exist. They're called blend frames. So there's one of every just like one of every 6-ish frames that you're looking at, like, doesn't exist in the real film, which is something to keep in mind. There's a lot of, like, just sort of little the other thing is nobody knows what copy of the film they're looking at. So there's some little defects in some of them. Like, there's one of my favorite, it's so good.
It's crazy.
One of my favorite, like, just psycho theories that somebody came up with was the massacre theory. There's one frame of one copy of the film that this guy saw that was like a little, like, sort of white speck which he interpreted to be a muzzle flash, and that they were
Right.
that there was doing a massacre of the big feet. Even though it was just a little speck in the film. But,
Oh, good Lord. That's slightly dark.
yeah, but anyways, you were asking about the skeptics' theory as to the sort of logistics of this. In 1998, a guy called one of Bob and Roger's friends, a guy called Bob Heronimus, which is an amazing name.
What a name.
Big dude too. He came forward in I think it was a Fox television special, Fox like documentary production, saying that he was the guy in the ape suit. This is 37 years later or something.
Right.
30 something years later. I don't remember what year he actually came forward, but like decades had passed. Roger's been dead for a very long time. Bob had yet to come back to Bigfoot world. He bowed out like very quickly, which I can talk about in a minute. But Bob Heronimus claims to be the guy in the ape suit. He has an ape costume, which he says is the Patty suit, but it's like just look at it. It's not Patty. It's just so obviously like it's honestly like shocking that like they just let him get away with that. It's like
Do we have a picture of it?
Great fucking we do, but not right now.
That's fine. I can search for it. What would I search for?
Search for Bob Heronimus. Oh wait, no, hold on. I got it on my Twitter.
Okay.
Keyword search. Yeah. Viewers, talk amongst yourselves.
I'm just being very relaxed with this tonight. Oh, there's a picture of him here with
Is it the ape head?
Yeah. Hang on. There we go. We'll zoom in on. Oh, that didn't zoom.
I hate when it does that.
Yeah, why is it doing that? There we go.
Like it's just not.
That is supposed to look like that.
I believe that's supposed to be that.
Right. Okay.
And he says that it was him, but he didn't go with them. Like he lent them a horse. Like one of the horses was Bob Heronimus's horse. He didn't go with them. He lent them a horse. And the costume that he presents. Interesting little thing here is that Roger almost assuredly bought an ape costume. Again, he was from a guy called Philip Morris for, I can't remember what it was, $500. It was like top of the line. And he, again, was making a film. If you are going to make a film after taking the Patterson Gimlin film about Bigfoot, any responsible filmmaker would put the Patty walk and the Bob Heronimus walk side by side, compare them. That's almost assuredly what he was doing. It doesn't mean that Patty is an ape costume. That's a very it's crazy the lengths that people just like go to explain.
Well, it's also like anyone. If you pictured anyone in that sort of position, you'd look that. It would look like that because you'd just be in that position.
Right. No, yeah, exactly.
That's just a person standing slightly sideways.
His best, the one thing he has going for him is he's big. But he's not that big. He's not WWE wrestler big. He's not Patty big. Look at those thighs. Those thighs are the size of my chest.
Yeah. Well, and also I don't think that they've sufficiently covered the boobs. Has anybody okay, I'll ask you this very important question. Has anyone either then or now come forward and said this is why even if they're trying to debunk it or whatever, if this guy came forward and he was like, the reason that we gave Patty boobs was because of X? Has anyone ever actually acknowledged?
Not that I know of. I mean,
see that just seems wild to me because that seems like an insane thing to just add on.
It's also it's also impossible.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like something you would add on.
It is another. I saw somebody sent me this Patterson Gimlin debunking Medium post once where it had 3 major points, and one it was ridiculous. The first point was the butt. They said the butt looked like pillows were stuffed in there. What the fuck are you talking about? How do you know
No,
what that would
does
look
not.
like? Also, ape suits at this time are just like thick hide sewn together. It's like carpet.
That's
Like,
it. Patty's just thick. That's all that is.
Yeah, that's
you
all
know?
that
Like
is.
that's
Exactly.
Are those pillows?
Right. But yeah, like one, you don't know anything about costume making. Pillows wouldn't be able to do that. Just like you're just making stuff up in your head. Like it's crazy that people just don't even realize that they're doing this. Another point was the fact that the Patty had boobs, because Roger, in his little book that he wrote, included a drawing of a Bigfoot with boobs, and they were saying, that's convenient. Which like half of them are going to be female.
Yeah. It makes sense. I just don't, I guess, like, okay, let's look at this again. If we look at the, how do I get this bigger? Right. So that's the head, right? And you're comparing it to that looks like it's got hair all over there, which doesn't, like, the length of it doesn't match it. Like, this looks like quite short hair, and that looks like way longer, way stragglier. I don't know whether that's over time, right? I'm trying to play both sides here. I'm just trying to,
I got you.
But that seems to be a lot shorter
and
a lot more like, almost like, I want to use the word like luscious. It appears to be more like silky and smooth.
In that shot, it does especially. There's other shots where not so much. There's one video I have that also has no audio, so we can talk over it. I believe it is number 2.
Okay. This one.
Yes. This is one of the early sort of stabilization efforts. This is what I was going for. Look at the hair here. Look at this leg hair. That is attached to a leg.
It looks kind of like almost kind of billowy.
Yeah, it's blowing in the wind.
Yeah.
Which those look like legs to me. Sorry.
Which again, like, I mean, you think like that's 1967. I like, you look at like ape costumes that you can buy now, and you cannot get like ones that have hair that looks like, I mean, you probably can now if you go like super professional, but like you said, back then.
Hold on, pause. Check this out.
I can't pause.
Oh, I'm talking about you pausing.
Oh.
See that in the toes? See that in the toes?
So they bend.
That is a foot.
Right. So what are we looking at here?
That is a stabilization of Patty walking away.
Right.
Like, I love these. I've always said that, like, the thing that like will. I should have said this earlier on, but like, I can't make up your mind for you. Like, this is up to you. You have to actually like go into this willing to change your mind. Because many people don't want to, and they will just continue to. I mean, I also don't care. I think you're kind of. I think it's weird if you don't look at all the evidence and then don't accept that, like, this is probably an upright ape in the woods. But like, again, I don't care what you believe. Just look at the film, though. Like, actually, like, really look at it. Really think about it.
So let's talk about the feet. There's some more of it here. See, like, even here, like, if you look at the top row and you look at the third one in.
Yeah, look at that.
And again, you're talking like, that's serious, like, it's like hair all the way down. It's like a perfect, what you would expect an ape foot to be like.
Right. The way that it walks too, the way that it sort of like picks its foot up and kind of makes its toes like sort of perpendicular to the ground, the way that it walks and like brings that foot up like that. It's just like when gorillas like walk up, right? They do the same thing.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing, another thing is that the eyes are just too far apart to be a person.
Right. Have we got a picture of the eyes?
That's, I guess it's good you're gonna do unless you can zoom in. But yeah, they're just too far apart. Although some people would say that they're like, who's that crazy guy, Cal Koroff?
Yeah.
He had
got a Skeptical Inquirer piece on it.
His he talks a lot about his like his proof is something about a glass eye. I don't remember what the details exactly, but it's like there's what are you talking about? Like it's just ridiculous. But yeah, again, Bob Heronimus didn't go with them there. He lent them a horse. They're out there 20 days. They take the film, not expecting to actually run into a Bigfoot. And just all the logistics around it, the isolation, even if there was a third-party prankster, like a third-party hoaxer. One, doesn't explain the suit. Two, how they knew they would have had to just been laying in wait for them to come across, possibly, to then just get up and walk into the woods, even though they both had high-powered rifles and were great shots and probably like you're risking your life doing that. And Roger actually later, I can get to that later, but yeah, wrapping up the Bob Heronimus thing, he comes forward 3 decades later saying that he's the guy in the patty suit. Clearly the suit he provides is not the patty suit, if it is a suit, and he probably I think he might actually think that, like, I mean, if he's going on TV with that suit, I think he might actually think that he's the guy. I think his
what do you mean by that?
30 years, memories change.
Right.
He wasn't particularly fond of Roger because he never got paid for his 1 day of work to walk in the patty suit, because he did probably walk in that costume that he presents for Roger's film to do the test footage or whatever. But he's not going to know what he looks like on the film.
Right.
Like, it's not just like you can show him like on your iPhone or whatever. Like, unless Roger actually showed it to him, which there's no evidence he did, he would have no idea what he looks like. And I think memory probably just changed over 30 years.
So is there any evidence that he was out with them for
No.
this? So
None.
there's
None.
He doesn't have anyone else kind of corroborating his story. It's just him.
There is, I think there's a couple just sort of tangential people who just enable it, I guess. But none of the main players, no.
Right.
So yeah, that's I've never understood why people take the guy serious. If you Google his name, the tag, like his career or whatever, says television personality.
Right.
Which is pretty funny. But yeah, he was probably salty, Roger.
So has anyone actually like said, I made that suit?
A guy called Philip Morris claimed to the guy who Roger bought the suit from, says that it was his, but he was going to, at one point, he said he could recreate it. They said there was alterations or something that were done. He said he was going to recreate it, never did.
Right. So it's clear in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Roger bought a suit and that he wore like that, but you think that it was more like to shoot some sort of test footage?
Yeah, I think he bought a suit. I think Bob probably wore it, was probably filmed by Roger doing the walk.
Right.
But it doesn't prove it's a hoax. It doesn't prove that Patty is that shot.
Right.
And assuredly wasn't, because he wasn't there.
Right. So the guy that created this suit that this guy, let me bring this guy back up. This guy that
Bob Heronimus.
Yeah. What's this photo? Someone's got a photo. They said that that's on. Okay, yeah. So like look at that side by side. Look at the amount of skin.
Looks like
is on this here.
If you look at just at the top, the haircut, it looks almost like a Nazi youth haircut.
It looks completely different.
Also, no cone head.
Yeah, exactly. It's
also too big. One of the big guy called Bill Munns, who wrote pretty good book. It's very self-sucky. He was like a veteran Hollywood creature maker, and he made a lot of really impressive stuff. He did Blackenstein. He made some really, really good apes and stuff. But he wrote a book called When Roger Met Patty, which is an amazing name. He again, filmmaker, creature maker. He has also scanned every frame of every known copy of the film.
Right.
He knows it very well. He actually corrected the record as how many frames there actually are, because a lot of them don't have all the frames. He talks about the problem with always the problem with like making gorillas in Hollywood was that they could never. It was like sort of like the Holy Grail was being able to make the head not oversized. Just with the proportions of the suit, it would always end up with a giant head, which was like something nobody could crack. I doubt that Roger was the guy who cracked.
Yeah, it just looks like
it's not the same thing.
No, it doesn't. I mean, to be fair, we do have a very grainy picture on the left-hand side, but even with the grain, it's like it's clearly, to me anyway, is different. And I think one of the biggest things, if this on the left is a costume, the costumes usually grow hair, because this looks a lot longer. So if they've tweaked it or something, I mean, I'm just going off the top of my head, but this is just like, and also, how much would something like that have cost?
I believe the price that Roger paid, I believe it was $500. I think it was like the best you could get as like a civilian.
That's a lot of money in 1967. It's a lot of money now.
Yeah. He really liked fucking Bigfoot stuff. He spent all his money doing this shit. But the I wonder what his wife thought about that. She doesn't really talk about it much at all.
Is she still around?
I believe so.
Right.
Her name also coincidentally is Patricia Batty.
Nice.
But he did you see that new Jesse Eisenberg Sasquatch movie, Sasquatch Sunset?
It's in the trailer for it, but I haven't seen the actual movie.
Me either. But you see those ape suits? They do not look very convincing.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we're still not in an era where they are 100% convincing.
It's very clear that you're looking at a man in an ape suit. It's never not shocking to me that people just like, I don't know, people just really don't want to believe in Bigfoot. And this is also like, this is the type of evidence they're always asking for. I've seen a bunch of cases made, like debunking cases made, and I've talked to a bunch of people who, like, their evidence that it's a hoax has nothing to do with the actual evidence. It's like, it'll be like, they'll talk about like things seemingly being similar to the Cripplefoot hoax a few years later or whatever.
Right.
But not the actual evidence. It's interesting. People just like, ever seen that meme where it's like the smiley face emoji with like the eyelashes and the fingernails, and it's just like, I pretend I do not see it.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's you were talking with Martin Cannon about Tenny's thing, about polling his audiences at conferences for like how many people believe in ghosts, how many people believe in aliens, how many people believe in Bigfoot. And Bigfoot always last place by a mile, and in national polls too. It's actually one of the only things that unites all demographics, like boomers to Gen Z, is it's roughly 10-11% in each generation believing Bigfoot. Yeah. Which is also fascinating. But yeah, 10%. Aliens is like, I think it's probably around half the country. Ghosts, I think, is a country. Which, like, I think it's because it's easy. Like, it's not like it's not really Bigfoot's a lot more down to earth. There's a lot of real fucking stakes there. Like say that like say that the Royal Society like said that UFOs were real tomorrow. Doesn't really change anything. Like, still don't know what they are, can't do anything about it. They're still gonna show up. Like, at the end of the day, nothing really changes. But if they did that with Bigfoot, that's real fucking stakes. That's very fucking disruptive. Like, I don't think there's a single institution that would like not be disrupted by that, from scientific organizations or institutions to just credibility of media to like the church, religions. Like, tabloids are not going to have as much fun anymore. It touches everything.
What kind of disruption do you think that there would be like the most? Say that there's some sort of like, say that definitive proof, right? Of definitive proof in you know what I mean by that. A body is found, we can go, this is it, and studies are done and all of that kind of stuff. What, I mean, I know the answer to this question, but what are you, when you talk about disruption, what would change because of that?
I think it'd be just another, I think people would trust their institutions even less than they already do. Because I mean, again, this is like a laughing stock bullshit. Like, people laugh at people who believe in Bigfoot, but like, I don't know, it's not that hard to believe. I mean, there's a lot of different like theories as to what Bigfoot could be, whether it's like Gigantopithecus or Prometheus boisei, or even like a theory that I heard recently that I think is very compelling is that they could be like some like 5th generation feral children who during their early life, like when they're sort of like key growth years, had like a sort of phenotype like offshoot where they're like, they just have to I mean, like there's locusts and stuff that like there's a very like early on in their life, early on in their development, there's material conditions and stuff that determine what type of locust they're going to become, whether they're going to be like a solitary one that stays on the ground, or they're going to be the ones that do locust swarms. It's like very specific things, and they can go either way depending on those things. There's been cases of like feral children who've like been raised by, you name it, what animal. I mean, like there's some who like grew up primarily in water. There's like raised by apes, raised by wolves, whatever. I remember hearing that there was a case study of like, it was like, I can't remember, it was 60 or I don't remember, but basically there were 3 cases of feral children who grew up like very young age in the sort of wilderness, and they developed a like thin like all over body hair, like thin body hair, because it's your body at that time in your development taking a completely different route to adapt to
Like,
its
yeah, because
surroundings.
I think in the chat, I think it was the Earth in the chat said something about how I can't find it, about, and I can't pronounce the word, even though I should be able to pronounce the word, hirutism, you know, like excess growth of body hair. And how like you can't prove that it's like you can't what am I trying to say? It may not be like a Bigfoot or an ape as we know it. It could just be, like you said, some sort of like actual, just a human that has like excess body hair.
Or like there's other cases of like feral kids who were raised by primates who wound up with it's the way that their big toe like does a lot more work than ours does. The toes spread out differently. They gain muscle more on different parts of their body. Like, it's all like it's really actually fascinating. I want to read more about it, but I've only heard one person talk about it. But it's very convincing theory.
So in terms of like the disruption as well, we'd also be talking about like a massive conservation effort.
That's yeah. I mean, like there's tons of cases of like just fucking little like lizards or owls or whatever that one of them gets found, like logging companies got to shut down. There's laws in the books, like they have to do it. So they hate that shit.
Mm.
It always like, especially like logging towns, because like people don't want to be out of work. They hate that fuss. Like they care about the environment. The logging like sort of aspect of this is the culture and stuff is really fascinating. I was just reading this book by Robert Michael Pyle, who peer of Jane Goodall. Well, we should talk about Jane Goodall. Bigfoot believer, by the way. He wrote this book called Where Bigfoot Walks, where it's like a sort of combination of nature writing, travel writing. He's a Yale professor and naturalist who got a grant from the Guggenheim to do the book.
Right.
And he just like travels. He tries to get himself in like Bigfoot's head, and talks a lot about the. It's an absolutely brilliant fucking book. Best book about Bigfoot I've ever read. He also edited the book of Nabokov's butterfly writings.
Nice.
Which is also really good. But yeah, he got a sorry, fucking what were we talking about?
We're talking about conservation.
Yes. He has a lot of sympathy for the logging people. Like he's a naturalist. He's a very smart naturalist, and is writes a lot about like old growth stuff and logging towns, and like just the effect that logging has on. It's a huge like cultural, sociocultural thing, and also like a huge industry. I mean, like the reason we never hear about logging companies or mining companies is because they're the fucking busiest and doing the most and most powerful. I mean, like, remember that story in Peru, like last year, of the everybody getting run out of this indigenous village. Everybody got run out because the mining company mercenaries were pretending to be aliens on jetpacks.
Yeah, with the jetpacks and stuff. And there was they were even doing like some sort of like fake abduction things. They like took some girl and like cut her up or something. She did like an interview and said that she was like, it was, I feel like they thought it was aliens, but it then was revealed that these were literally people flying around on jetpacks.
Yep.
Which is fucking insane to think about.
That's the industry we're dealing with here. So I don't want to hear anything about like, oh, mining companies wouldn't cover up the existence of the Tasmanian tiger. Yes, they would.
We've got a clip about that, haven't we?
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Okay.
I think I can't remember if Reed sent me this one or
is it number 1?
It is.
I feel like it's the first one about the Tasmanian.
I think it is number 1. Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna play it.
About 4 years ago to track and kill an animal in southwest of Western Australia. He said this week it was significant that the Western Australia habitat of the tiger was subject to mining leases. If the tiger's presence was established, a conservation order could be placed on the land. He said, "The department are not convinced it is a Tasmanian tiger, but they want to know where I saw it. They even want me to capture or kill it, but they don't want me to tell anyone about it. Government authorities are afraid to speak out because they know what it is. I think they are afraid of the cost involved. If we prove the animal was a Tasmanian tiger, it could cost the government a fortune. Apart from rewriting history books, they would have to make the habitat a reserve, stop mining in the area, and declare the animal an endangered species." This also reminds me of an episode of Animal X Natural Mystery Unit, where they interviewed a man named Ray Green in Tasmania. Mr. Green was a former logger who went to run a wildlife sanctuary, and he described how trees would be cut down in an area, and then the area of a few hundred acres would be burned from the outside in, killing all the animals inside the circle. And when asked about the thylacine, he said, "If a tiger was found tomorrow, you can imagine the world outcry. And if that happened, forestry would have to start doing things properly."
But the number one enemy for forestry is the Tasmanian tiger.
Mr. Green even had a cast of a thylacine footprint, or I guess I should say a possible thylacine footprint, that he kept under lock and key as he feared it could be stolen. Now this episode of Animal X was made years ago, back in the early 2000s I think, but with just a quick search you can see that logging is still a pretty contentious issue in Tasmania.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's do I have the photo of the Tasmanian tiger in the thing too?
Is that it?
Yep. Like that was it's like, I mean, you look at that, right? It's a Tasmanian tiger. Like it just is. As the stripes in the right spot, as the eyebrow ridges, it's got the stiff tail. It's got the
Yeah.
short little ears, like the snout. It's a Tasmanian tiger. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
But do they still contest that it doesn't exist?
Oh yeah, it's still quite extinct. Yeah. Even though does still continue to be sightings occasionally, which would be expected. I mean, declaring something extinct at all is pretty big, bold, like declaration, and like when they declared the ivory-billed woodpecker extinct.
Right.
A lot of birders and naturalists were upset about that because one, people still saw them, and it was later found that they were living in Cuba.
Wow.
So yeah, it's the extinct thing is I'm sure there's like actual like very rigorous protocols for making that call, but it's hard. There's a lot of fucking wilderness out there.
Well, yeah, especially when you're confronted with evidence like that is a Tasmanian tiger. So it and especially when the motivation to keep it at extinct is for profit. And then if you go one step further with that and you say, okay, if there is such thing as a Bigfoot, and I feel like that word itself just has so much baggage on it. And maybe that's part of like what the big issue is about it, because you're really just talking about some sort of unknown ape, really. Like, and it's not anything that is beyond the realms of possibility.
Right.
So I feel like that just the word Bigfoot can immediately get people's backs up. But if you extrapolate, right, what we've seen with Tasmanian tiger, and you apply it to a Bigfoot-like creature that is living in woodland in America, North America, it stands to reason that there would be I'm not trying to say that there's some great big cover up, but what I am saying is that it would make sense for logging companies that are motivated by profit to keep something like that under wraps.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously. I'll do this one first, and then I'm gonna make a note so I don't forget. My favorite conspiracy theory about Bigfoot is that the Smithsonian is the perpetrator of the Bigfoot cover-up.
Right.
That like I think there are actually like news articles from like late 1800s, early 1900s of like people finding big fucking bones and sending them to the Smithsonian, and just there's never being any follow-up. So the idea is like there's a big Raiders of the Lost Ark Bigfoot evidence warehouse.
Right.
Which is fucking awesome because one, the Smithsonian is very weird. It is a weird institution. It's neither public nor private. It was like I'm not gonna get into that right now. But look it up. It is a weird fucking thing. And also Gore Vidal is a really good book called The Smithsonian Institution about like time travel and Hitler and stuff. It's great.
Interesting.
Smithsonian cover up. Oh yeah, if the Smithsonian like actually was a perpetrator of this back in the 1800s, I mean you got to take like just sort of a, what do you call it, cultural, just like period, like religious beliefs into account too. I guess now would be a bit more like I mean like there's Christians who tie Bigfoot in the Bible all the time, so like I guess that one's not too hard, but at that time I doubt there's people doing that, or at least not to the extent that they do now, where it's like how I saw this one book called How UFOs and Bigfoot Prove the Bible is Real.
Wow.
Which is it has a great cover too. It's awesome. But I mean, yeah, people just believe what they want at this point. Like, but I feel like 1800s that would have been really disruptive. If it came out that we weren't like made by God, and there's something that's something like human, like more so than. I mean, another thing to keep in mind is that we didn't even know that gorillas were real until like 100 years ago. And then ever since then, Hollywood is just obsessed with them.
Planet of the Apes, great movie series. New movie coming out in a couple of weeks, or like next week.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes last night for my first time, and very much liked it.
So good.
I'm excited to watch the other ones.
I'm a big fan of like all the apes movies. So let's have a look through. So what are we?
It's a
What
great
is
shot.
this?
That is Roger. Yeah, that's the end. That was what I wanted to talk about. The actual
Okay.
casts of the footprints.
Okay.
Like when people hoax footprints, they have like little like sort of snowshoes that have like a foot imprint on them, and then they go and trump through the mud. The Patty suit was, if it was a suit, was like a full body thing. It wasn't just a specialized like snowshoe thing, and somehow incorporated like actual giant feet into it is another crazy thing. The impressions that were left too is like big strides, deep impressions. And those are Patty's feet.
Right.
Keep in mind, Roger's 5'2".
Yeah, that's wild. So I guess so the debunkers will say just wearing bigger shoes.
Have to be really fucking big shoes.
Well, they're also like that. That's also, yeah. I mean, they're very like prominent toes and yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of these kind of Bigfoot. You see these a lot when you go to like Bigfoot museums, right?
Oh yeah, and I have no doubt that most are fake too.
Yeah, there's a lot. They kind of created like a, let's say you know, this was the OG case. It's definitely spawned a lot of hoaxes since then.
Yeah, I mean it's the model, like it's the face of the entire thing.
Yeah. And yeah, I've been to like loads of, well, not loads, I've been to 2 Bigfoot museums, and you always see the classic footprints, but they're always so fascinating. And this is the thing that I find about it, is like, first of all, I am always like, I'm a skeptical person, but like when it comes to this, I'm like, it's not, I don't think that number one, even if you don't believe in it, I don't think that it's harmful for anyone else to believe in it. I don't think that it's, I think it's like an interesting thing. It's very much like, I don't know, kind of opens your imagination to what else could be out there in a way that doesn't feel, you know, again, there are bad actors in the Bigfoot community. We know that they're everywhere, but it doesn't seem as horrific as like the UFO world.
No, not at all. I do know that like it's I mean the first like sort of more serious like Bigfoot cryptozoology conference that had all like the big boys like Renee DeHenden, John Green, all the big like OG Bigfoot researchers after the 60s, the Tom Slick, that guy who anyways, it's just all fucking arguing. There's like multiple arrests that night. Like some people didn't talk to each other for the rest of their lives after that. Like it was just a fucking mess. Like Bigfoot world's like that too, but it's not like, I don't think it inspires the sort of belief systems that the UFO thing does.
No, I think that there's certain people that kind of want to come in and do that, like the before mentioned David Plaiser is a great example of that.
Well, what does he actually believe?
Well, this is the interesting thing, right? So I went to a Bigfoot museum, gosh, nearly 10 years ago now, in Northern California. It's the Bigfoot Discovery Museum, run by just like one guy who's been running it forever.
I think the guy who wrote the book that I was talking about went here.
He's like he's quite short, and he's got like long grey hair, long grey beard. He's been investigating Bigfoot forever. It's like just outside of Santa Cruz.
Different.
He is like a fascinating character, and you go into his little museum and he's got like all the Bigfoot memorabilia and footprints and everything. But I started talking to him because I was interested in his opinion on David Plaiser, and I don't want to put words in his mouth because this was like 10 years ago and I can't remember it verbatim, but he has a lot to say about David Plaiser.
Oh really?
And it was along the lines of like almost like an exploitation of the Bigfoot community to like push an agenda even then. And I can remember him saying, you know, like he doesn't say what he believes in, but he kind of like he like very conveniently like kind of skirts around.
Right.
Oh, I don't know whether it's Bigfoot. Oh, I don't know whether it's aliens. Oh, I don't know whether it's this. He never like takes a position, and that's why he can sell his documentaries, because he clings on to that mystery element of it.
It's fascinating. Like I always thought, like, I mean, if there's any credibility, is there any credibility to the missing 411 stuff? Like, are there some that are actually like legit?
I think that there's certain cases within there that are interesting. Whether interesting means that there's anything strange about them,
Right.
it is another story entirely.
People disappear in national parks all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And also by large bodies of water, and people walk off and people do go missing. Absolutely. Right. But I don't necessarily think that there's anybody out there abducting people from national parks. Like the way that he makes it sound like it's a mass organized thing.
I mean, if it's anybody, I just never understood why he never made this connection. Is like he always talks about Yosemite being like the biggest like hotspot for disappearances, and that big like granite deposits play a role. They seem to play a role, like bigger granite deposits, the more disappearances or something like that. All the storytellers say that Yosemite is still one of the only surface level populations of little folk in the world.
Right.
They live in the rocks.
What do you mean
they kidnap people.
What do you mean when you say little folk for the uninitiated?
Like gnomes, elves, little guys.
Right.
And they are known to kidnap people.
Like taking them off into, like come with me.
You lean up against a rock, you're getting sucked into another dimension.
Imagine that you just come for a walk and you end up in another fucking dimension. Crazy.
Yeah, I can't believe he's never made that. Or insinuated that. I guess it's not as fun as Aliens or whatever.
No, I mean I don't know. He's made a connection between like that and vasectomies, hasn't he?
I think so. That's so funny. Yeah, like it's getting a vasectomy like keeps you from getting abducted. I think.
Yeah, something like that. But the guy that I went to, I met and spoke with at the Bigfoot Discovery Museum. He was fascinating because he's been like almost like a tracker. So he was playing me. And I was in there for like 2 hours, just yapping at him. But he was playing me on his old, like super old, like 90s computer, all these MP3s of recordings of Bigfoot like cries.
Yeah, like the Sierra sounds. And,
I mean, this stuff was like insane.
It is crazy. I mean, like a lot of people have heard this stuff too. The author of the book that I was just talking about, Pyle, he said when he was like 30 years younger before he was doing the book, he had heard this and it was fucking terrifying. Like staying in a tent out in the wilderness and never heard it again. But as soon as he started researching the book and was looking into the stuff, he was like, revelation, that's what it was.
Yeah.
He also does say that a lot of people probably misinterpret like various owl calls. There's some weird owl calls.
Oh yeah, there are.
So echoing through all this weird stuff is, I'm sure a lot of people do misinterpret stuff like that, but there's some great fucking audio of something that there's something.
Yeah.
Something's making those noises.
Yeah, and again, like you don't have to attach like this is exactly what it is, but it's definitely like it's something that is interesting, and if it gets people more interested in what could possibly be out there, more interested in nature, more interested in the world around us, more interested in conservation of the world around us, to make sure that you're protecting like anything like that does exist.
Oh, that's I meant to bring this up earlier. These are recreations of. So this is actually another interesting thing too, is when Roger was filming Patty for that 1 minute. When he's sprinting towards her, he takes his finger on and off the trigger like 6 separate times. So there's actually sections of frame which you would never notice just watching it, but there is like distinct like markings in the film and stuff that you can tell. It's also like when the shutter opens back up, the one frame is a lot lighter. If you're looking at the frames individually, you can tell. But it's a fascinating thing to it's interesting because like if you're doing a hoax, you're not going to do that. These are like accidental trigger slips.
Like it's somebody that is like, oh my god.
Yeah,
like anybody would be. It's like when people film. It's like when people film things that they see in the sky, right? I might not necessarily believe that they're UFOs, in the sense of they are UFOs, but I don't necessarily think that they're like aliens or anything. But it's like the person that's. And I've had this myself. So I've got a UFO video where I was driving down the dirt road towards Area 51 and looked up
that's
in the
cool.
sky, and there was like a fucking I still can't explain it to this day. It was like this white, it was like the kind of cigar shaped thing,
Mhm.
right, that people describe, and it split in front of my eyes into 3 different things that were all side by side and then would merge back into one thing. And I was like, well, I know I'm looking at something military craft, but this is fucking insane. So I got out my camera and I'm trying to record it, and it's the worst video you've ever seen in your life. I mean, it's like I'm shaky. You can hear me like hyperventilating on the other
Yep.
side because I'm just desperately trying to capture it, and nobody can see it. Barely anyone has like actually looked at it and gone, oh yeah, I can see what you're talking about.
Right, exactly. Like, I would love to, like, I wish I could do like a Star Trek holodeck type simulation where I could put an iPhone 3 in Roger's hands instead of the camera. Like, everybody having cameras in their pocket, we would have evidence by now. No, it doesn't mean anything. Like, the videos are shittier.
Yeah.
Like, even
And
on like new iPhones, it's like all the auto adjust stuff, like the autofocus stuff, just like kills it. Like, it's impossible to record a good video of something without foreground.
And I am like, you know, when it comes to the idea of like alien craft or anything, I am totally skeptical. So I kind of the area in which the video was taken, it's very obvious that it was some sort of like military testing. But like, I know what I saw.
Yeah.
I know that it wasn't like anything that you normally see in the sky. I can't tell you what it was.
Yeah.
And I tried to take a fucking video of it, and you can't make anything out.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then if I then came forward, I guess if I came forward with that, and people would just dismiss it and debunk it and immediately
It's
out
not
of hand.
helpful.
Where I'm like, it is real. Like, that is something that I actually saw.
I have a couple of UFO videos myself, which are mine and for me, and I'm not posting. But I will share them with you if you're my friend or something, or if it comes up. But there's a couple that are really cool. They're not UFOs per se, but yeah. Anyways, that's a whole nother thing. Can we have the skepticism discussion?
Yes, absolutely. Go on.
Oh, that's a good one too. These are like there's 3 back. There's that one. Then there's another one with an arrow. That's an open mouth right there, and then it gets closed again. Good little. I came across those recently. I hadn't seen those before.
Yeah, they're pretty great.
So one time, okay, so like 4 years ago, I replied to Chris Cogswell. You know him?
I don't know who that is.
He had the Mad Scientist podcast. He was the ex-scientific. He was very briefly the scientific director for MUFON,
right,
before bailing.
Right.
And he has a podcast. I don't know if he still does it, but generally pretty good guy. Also, if he's listening, shout out for saying fuck MUFON. But I hate how people just use the term skeptic and skepticism as like this rigid like thing. Like, identifying as a skeptic is crazy to me. Like you can't just that's where you get people like Brian Dunning and stuff, where like you literally can never
Michael Sherman.
Right. Like it's crazy. It's like skepticism, like ideological skepticism, like skepticism as worldview is like the reflex to poo-poo all quote unquote conspiracy theories or whatever categorically is an affront to the like healthy ideals of critical thinking, and primarily, as you always see, serves in a field of reinforcement function. Like fucking Brian Dunning still says that glyphosate doesn't cause cancer, which like you're a scientist. You're supposed to be a scientist, whatever. But like, you can also never admit that you're wrong, which is pretty funny. I consider myself very skeptical of things. It's a case-by-case thing. It's not like a rigid thing. Like,
exactly. I think like I use the word skeptical because it's like there is no like other word, but it's like I think I can't remember who said, I think maybe Tanner said it, like skeptic with a capital S. Like I don't want to associate myself with like the Brian Dunning, Michael Shermer skeptical inquirer school of skepticism, because their skepticism never goes up to like the government's front door, and then it stops.
Yeah.
And then they just turn back and they go the other way. They never really go any further, which is always insane to me.
I also all turn out to be like very there's a big overlap between the new atheists and the skeptic community.
Yes, absolutely.
It's crazy how like the whole like atheism as like sort of not supposed to have an ideology when they all just become like very imperialist, anti-Muslim.
Yeah, well, it's like the who's that guy, Richard Dawkins? He did an interview the other day. Basically, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was basically saying that England should go back to being a Christian country. It's like, you fucking like what? And it's literally just motivated by his Islamophobia.
Yeah. I mean, like what's the name? Sam Harris.
Yeah.
In one of his books, he just made up just whole cloth made up a number saying that like by 2040 or whatever, like over half the country is going to be Muslim.
Yeah.
It's all just like it's crazy how that vacuum of ideology like just leads to, again, officialdom reinforcement function, like state friendly views, we should say.
Exactly.
But yeah, like the skepticism stuff just is very annoying. Is like I just hate the use of the term, because I messaged Chris Cogswell and I was like, can you do an episode where you like actually define skepticism, like what it means? And he's like, that's a great idea, I'll do it. He does it. He has on Brian Dunning.
Oh God.
I didn't know who he was at the time. So I listened to it and I get to the end and Brian Dunning's like, hey, you want to know my recent like sort of it's kind of like that Adam Ruins Everything show where you're just like, well, actually this thing isn't true. But he says that billionaires aren't actually bad for the world.
Oh yeah, you sent me this clip.
And that they can be, but only in other countries that are corrupt, not like the US.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. The US
he also makes a case that clear cutting forests is actually okay.
Fucking hell. That's just insane.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that like to come to the conclusion, like his like PGF conclusion that I read earlier, you have to just ignore so much evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all bad faith bullshit. He also said that, hold on, I have this tweet. It's so good.
He does relatively the same thing with UFOs. It had that recent UFO documentary, and it's just picks apart. I've only watched a little bit of it because there's only so much that I can stand. Mm-hmm. But it's like they never address it. What to me is like the elephant in the room when it comes to topics like that.
No, it was I was talking about this with Tanner and Reed back, because I watched it like right when it came out, and I predicted to Tanner and Reed that it would be a successful debunk of many of these so-called best cases. Yes, because they're very easy to debunk. Yeah. And would shit, I forgot the rest of my prediction, but basically I was right. And I was meant to do a thread about it actually a long time ago, but there's a lot of just sort of little things that he also says, that he just has these absurd claims about how like the B-2 bomber and stuff weren't responsible for any UFO sightings. Right. Which is like a fucking crazy thing to say. Like, where are you getting this from? Okay, here's the tweet. This is from 2013, Brian Dunning. Okay, I'm just going to say this. Science news from current and former communist countries should be disregarded and usually mocked.
Fucking hell.
Well,
just like I mean, they just show their ass, really.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know.
This is why I always have a struggle to like define where I sit in this, because it's like I'm skeptical. There's things that I, you know, for want of a better phrase, like want to believe in, things that I find interesting, things that I you know, think are worthy of more research. Mm-hmm. And I'm incredibly skeptical of the UFO question when it comes to any form of government involvement, military intelligence involvement. I'm not like, if somebody comes up to me and is like, I've had a UFO experience, unless there's somebody with like some form of what I would see as having an agenda, i.e. where they've worked before. I'm talking more like a kind of Angeli type character, somebody that's worked, you know, for the Department of Defense before as a fucking intelligence officer, you know, people like that. That's where I have the skepticism, because I'm like, what's the motive here? But it's like, you know, like an average person that's like telling me, it's like my one of my mum's best friends had a UFO experience. I think I've spoken about this before, and we're kind of veering, we're going all over the place, but whatever, doesn't matter. There was a UFO flap in the town that I live in the 1970s, and I was looking up on newspapers.com and found loads of different stuff about it. And my mum was like, oh, my friend Maureen had a UFO encounter like in that same time period. So I got the information from my mum's friend. She told me this whole thing. She was like, I will never forget it. Light in the sky. It basically followed me home. It was hovering, and I've never been so scared. She was like, I know what I saw.
Yeah.
And so I looked through like the newspaper archives, and there in the newspaper archives around the same time period was all of these corroborating reports. And then it also turned out that in the same time period, my great aunt had also had a UFO encounter in the same area. So I'm like, those things I find absolutely fascinating. And I'm not skeptical like towards my mum's friend or my great aunt, because I 100% believe that they've had those experiences.
Yeah.
Like I do genuinely think that there are things that are either you know, it's definitely real, whatever it was, I can't say.
Right.
I feel like it could have been something, you know, like high strangeness or something like that. It absolutely could have been something that you cannot explain in a way that's going to satisfy everybody. I don't like the skepticism when it veers into it almost just veers into like a real kind of, I don't know, it can get kind of like pitchforky, you know?
Yeah. Making up your mind is just like just not a good road to go. It doesn't really end up in, it's not fulfilling either, is the thing. Like once you evolve past once you grow out of the extraterrestrial hypothesis, then you can actually start playing the game and learning and growing as a person. I think that's a big key to it, and what traps people in fucking Jacques Vallée writing extraterrestrial hypothesis stuff now. It's like you spend too much time looking for the answers, and that's what happens. you start to write about UFO crashes. There's like no exceptions.
Yeah.
But I think I can explain it in a way that makes sense to everybody, satisfies everybody.
Can you?
I have my own UFO theory. I guess it's not really my own, but it's kind of my own. Because I spent 2017, summer 2017 to late 2019 being a fucking crazy person looking at the sky every single night, because we had a genuine like flap of weird things in Michigan. I saw a lot of weird stuff, a lot of it with other people. And I saw, one of the things I saw was a classic black triangle. It was a star in the sky that sort of like moved up, swooped down, 30 seconds, was in like a few hundred feet of me. And it was just a black triangle, like white light on each point, just classic black triangle. 1 a.m. I'm on my way home from work. No photos, of course. And then it's just sort of just cruised over the street and over my elementary school and just watched it till I couldn't see it anymore. And that's just one of a number of things. That's the only like proper UFO I saw. But there's a lot of other weird stuff too. But anyways, I was, for a while after that, I was like, did I actually like fucking see this? Or am I like, because I was having like, this is like a month or two into me being a crazy person. I'm starting to like check my sanity a little bit, because I'm not really sure. It took remembering how I reacted to it to realize that I was like not imagining. I just sat down in this parking lot for 10 minutes. Just processed it. So it definitely happened. Interestingly, happened at the time. I think Stephen Greer's Outing Knowledge had just come out.
Right.
Which like I'm not gonna say I fucked with Stephen Greer, but I think he made a lot more sense than a lot of people in terms of like talking about the fucking how the national security state's bad. It's very off, and what they're hiding or not hiding or whatever. He's crazy, but I was I hadn't outgrown the ETH at that point. I'd also, the X-Files episode I'd seen the most time was the Max episode from season 3, where it's got the perfect black triangle and the white light. I don't think it was a spaceship, because if it was what I saw with my eyes, then that would mean it's a literal vehicle with corporeal form that you could touch, but I don't think it was that. It doesn't make any sense how it could do the thing that it did and why it would do it at that time with nobody around, seemingly just for me. And ooh, spider on my floor. That's a cool one. I like spiders.
I don't. But
Oh, really?
No, I'm like a proper arachnophobe.
He's walking away from my bed. It's fine.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, it just doesn't make sense that it'd be a spaceship. I also like I this thing annoying. This I fucking hate like the UFO thing. Just the notion that it's aliens. There would be evidence of that by now. Like if they're actual aliens in spaceships landing on Earth for thousands, if not like
not just landing, crashing
too. There would be evidence of that, but there isn't. So it means it's not aliens. It is even the ones that like even the credible encounters where people have like they say they met aliens. The occupants, I probably still know fucking aliens. I my like theory that I'm like kind of developing, or like it's not my theory. I don't know why I'm saying that, but I think that we can accidentally just make things real sometimes.
Right.
There's a sort of the collective unconscious, just the power of belief and thought and whatever consciousness is, and the energy from the earth, from Gaia. Just like this weird alchemical thing happens where things just pop up sometimes that and then are observed and then stop existing. I think it's what makes sense to me at this point. That's the best I got.
It's a very interesting theory.
I mean, the fact that people started seeing flying saucers after Kenneth Arnold's thing when he didn't see saucers, it was just the term that was coined. It's very interesting. I mean, various cultures, various times, different things, all seem to be like in the modern era, the U.S. era, like all. It's exactly what you'd expect it to be. It's just around the edge of the technological barrier.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of fucking just breakthroughs that were being made in technology development at the time, like it's like just constant after we did the nuclear bomb thing. And like everybody's imagination was just fucking captivated. And they were also like much more, I don't know, not looking at their phones. And we're actually like, I mean, that's the other thing that really, sorry, I'm going all over the place, but
no, you can just go for it.
I've been trying to get the complete set of my town's Flying Saucer Club's newsletters, which were very rare. We've got 5 more to go, I think. But there's a club in the 50s where like I found it on a list in Thy Kingdom Come, the UFO magazine, of like a working list of all the active U.S. UFO organizations. Right. There's like hundreds, like 200, 300. Now there's like one, and they just took it upon themselves to do it. It was so cool. It's all good vibes. Like they're learning, growing together. Then motherfucking Donald Keogh came along.
Yeah, there was in my town, they had a flying saucer club that was like very, very prominent, but this one wasn't very good from the get-go because Hugh Dowding was involved from like the beginning, because he lived like just up the road from me. I only just found that out. I could literally walk to his old house. I live in like the most bizarre, like Alistair Crowley went to school very, very near me.
Oh, really?
He was only there for a while and then he got expelled. I think, who is it? Alice Bailey delivered like an invocation, a very famous invocation in one town over from me. Elena Blavatsky's been down this way as well. Hugh Dowding lived up the road. Adamski came here and did like a talk at the Tunbridge Flying Saucer Club. There you go, I've doxed myself. Who cares? Yeah, crazy. Like there's loads of stuff going on in this like in this very like this small area, and the amount of like weird like local sightings. And I take something that's more kind of relevant to Bigfoot is our big cat sightings. So like the big cat sightings in Kent, which is the county in which I live. I mean, I remember growing up and people being like, oh, I saw a jaguar like running through the woods. Like that would just be a story that you heard. And like everybody was just like, yeah, because there's loads of them that are like running around, but nobody ever catches them. And if you're lucky, you'll get like a blurry photograph of it.
We had that 2 summers ago. We had a big black cat sighting in Michigan. I didn't add the photos to the fucking thing because I didn't have service at the time and I forgot to after that.
Okay.
But I reached out to the guy who took the photos. He was photographing like a 5K, like a Tough Mudder, like the 5K through the mud and stuff. And
oh no, you did put these on.
I put 2 of them on. I didn't post the actual cat ones.
These ones?
Yeah, that's where he was standing when he took the photos. But there's a
right.
Let's see. I couldn't figure out how to do the share screen, so I'm not going to do that. But
that's fine.
They're cool photos. I'll post them after this. But it's clearly like a big black cat, like running in the background. He only noticed it because he was like looking at his camera, and then he looked up and he's like, oh, "That's a fucking big black cat." And he snapped 3 shots, sent them to the DNR. DNR says that is a quote normal-sized black cat.
Oh my god, yeah, ridiculous. Or they try and say like round here as well. It's like, oh, it could be a fox or something. It's like, what, do you think that people don't know what a fucking fox looks like? I'm outside my window every night. I know what a fox looks like. I know what a fox sounds like. You know, like it's all like a big dog that's out there. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That's actually a good point. Reed and I have talked about this quite a bit with the Tasmanian Tiger. There was here's New York Times headline: Tasmanian tigers are extinct. Why do people keep seeing them?
I wonder.
Quirks of the human mind and how we process information might explain the uncanny appearances of how do you pronounce it? I don't remember how to pronounce the actual name. I'm just going to say Tasmanian tigers.
Terrible with pronunciation.
Here's a little bit from it. Yet reported sightings continued and even increased in the 1980s and are still reported today. Quote, that suggested the sightings were a social phenomenon, not a zoological one. And then I look at the fucking, all I think about is that fucking Tasmanian Tiger photo from 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it's, I don't know. They're trying to like boil down everything, like tell you how it's your brain that's the fault for experiencing the world. Yeah, it's I've seen photos of mangy foxes because like I looked it up to make sure it wasn't. It can be similar, but there's just no mistaking the eyebrow ridges, the stiff tail.
So wait, they're saying that could have been a fox.
Yeah, they said it could be a mangy fox, and mangy foxes do look weird.
Not a child. Not a child. Look at the tail.
No, I know. Like the logical conclusion is that is a Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah, 100%.
I was looking at bears with mange recently. They look like werewolves.
See, a Tasmanian tiger has got the
the big jaw.
Yeah, and like the ears on that are like, that's not, oh my god, that's just it's like crazy.
It's like believe your own eyes, dude. Just
yeah,
like,
that's obviously
it's right there. It makes more sense that it's a Tasmanian tiger than anything else. And also, like, it's the same thing with the Bigfoot thing. It's like there is no hoax perpetrator capable of doing that.
This person says the stripes aren't obvious, and I would say, okay, yes, on the back, not maybe they aren't obvious, but if you look down the tail, yeah, like I feel like you can see them on the tail. Absolutely,
yeah, they're definitely there. But yeah, like there is precedent for people like for hundreds of years all over the world. They haven't even gotten to the fucking Yeti. Encountering big, upright, seemingly hominid creatures in the woods, or in the mountains or whatever. It makes sense that this happened exactly as like they present it. There's also like Bob Gimlin again maintains it's real. All the debunkings ignore him. There's like all these weird things with like he also didn't make money on this, by the way. I don't like the argument that like just because Roger made money means it must have been a hoax, because that's stupid. like, I don't care if people make money in UFO world. Like, they did a thing. They got something extraordinary. They did work. They wrote books, whatever. Like, you can do that as long as it's like not bullshit. I don't care about that.
with this, right? This comment that Rowie, I hope I've pronounced that right, has left.
Oh
Big
yeah,
cats
that's
being
almost assuredly
escapees.
what it is in our case.
Yeah, big cats being escapees from a private collection is very plausible.
Absolutely.
So, using that logic, is it then plausible for escaped apes to be out in the wilderness, living relatively undetected even?
Maybe.
I would say so.
I'd say
I would
easily
say so.
possible. Like, there is enough. Like, there isn't. I mean, like, a lot of people talk about like a Bigfoot. This version of Bigfoot, the Pacific Northwest one, is vegetarian. It doesn't eat meat. Eats berries, possibly bugs, whatever little snacks get left for him. But yeah, like there's plenty of like wild vegetation out there to eat. Like, and the estimated like populations of Bigfoot range from like in North America from like 400 to like 2,000. Like, it's like not many. There's not a ton of data to go on, but it's like that's the range basically. It's like there's not a ton of.
I feel like I watched a video relatively recently, and I think it could have been a Bob Gimlin one, where he was talking about apes that had survived in the wilderness, that had escaped either from like circuses or medical experiments.
Yeah.
And there's like quite a few compelling cases where they just like fucked off into the wilderness. They've been seen like once, and now they're just out there just living, doing whatever.
Yep.
So that's kind of like how I feel about Bigfoot kind of stuff. I almost, in my brain, this is just the way that I perceive it, and other people's mileage may vary on it, but I often think like this, for example, 1967 Patterson Gimlin film. We're in an era that time of like traveling circuses, all of that kind of stuff, you know, that like animal rights in North America were not, you know, there's a lot of like animals being used in circuses. So I don't think it is beyond possibility that an ape escaped from a circus or something like that, and then was like out there and kind of found a way to live in like the 1950s and 60s. And by the time they come along in 1967 and capture it on film, it's grown, it's larger, you know, that all that kind of stuff. That's just how I see it, because it's like a lot of people think like, oh well, they must, you know, there's got to be, why haven't we found bones or anything like that? It's like, well, it could be a relatively new phenomenon.
So we don't find bones of bears or cougars either. They get picked apart by scavengers immediately.
Yeah.
It's also gorillas and chimpanzees, I think, not in the fossil record, which is fascinating. And neither are these things. And that's another argument the skeptics make. It's not in the fossil record. But yeah, there's lots of animals not in the fossil record, including apes.
It's just fascinating.
Trying to see what else I got. Let's see. Patterson. I'm trying to think if there's any other care.
What's this one? What we got here?
That is that Renee DeHinden or John Green? He's
John Green.
He's doing the same path that Patty took years later. Same little area. I think it like today it looks nothing like this, but very definitely the same clearing. It was there's a lot of identifying features, certain trees and whatnot. So they found it. They did the walk again. Look how small he is.
To address this, it doesn't have to be a single escaped animal. Like you could be talking about, and again, these are all just like theories.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I have no idea what Bigfoot is, but I know that there's at least one.
I think that it's not beyond the realms of possibility. You know, I mean, I don't think that every single Bigfoot sighting is real, right? I think that there is definitely hoaxes, just as there are UFO hoaxes. I think there's compelling cases, and then there's ones that you're like, I can cast this off as being 99% bullshit. But it's like, you know, let's say, for example, you know, even with just 2 apes escaping, well, then you've got a possibility of some sort of like, you know, breeding or something like that. It's just that I find is like a very plausible way to look at it. And again, it's like, it goes back to that kind of like thing that we were talking about earlier about like John Tenney doing like the read of the room, right? It's like these things feel that it's like you're not talking about aliens, you're not talking about ghosts, you're not talking about interdimensional beings. I'm just saying there could have been a big ape out there that bred, and they could be living out there sustaining themselves on the wildlife, like in nature. Like that seems like the most plausible thing that you could ever even believe in.
I'm leaning more toward the feral child one. I think it's a great the phenotype sort of divergence thing. I think that's a great fucking theory.
It's an interesting hypothesis.
But let's see what else we got. One thing I wanted to bring up was Reinhold Messner. You know who that is?
Don't think so.
He is widely considered to be he's often called the Michael Jordan of mountaineering, of mountain climbing. First person to climb all 7 major peaks. First person to climb Everest without supplemental oxygen. Like he's like the GOAT. He's probably like above Jordan when it comes to mountaineering. But I saw a Yeti once. I wrote a whole book about it.
Interesting.
Called My Quest for the Yeti. And he actually, hold on. Let me read the opening page. It's very indicative that it's like not a fucking publicity thing. 1 second.
When did this book come out? I'm looking it up. 1998. In climbing solo in eastern Tibet in 1986.
Yeah, note to the reader. So like the first bit of prose. I've tried throughout this book to be as faithful as possible to the meanings and pronunciations of the Chinese, Tibetan, and other native Himalayan words I encountered on my journeys. However, because of the vagaries of dialects, concrete word-for-word translations for the Yeti are as elusive as the creature itself. Despite their impressionistic nature, I hope the following partial list of rough translations and etymologies, blah, 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 blah. That's not like a fucking, like a Cranks note to the reader.
Yeah,
it's a serious guy.
It's not like a kind of like 1970s pulpy paperback novel that you'd find,
right?
You know,
that's a man who cares.
Yeah.
And is very sure of what he saw. He spent like over a decade looking for it after he saw it. And I think he like early on, he says something like some Nepalese people told him that like, you're not going to find it. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
Which
elusive.
Which scans.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of place to hide.
What is this? Composite of trackway showing relationship of individual footprints.
It's like a sort of like when you take like multiple screenshots and like thread them together, it's like that.
Right.
That's the track. That's Patty's trackway.
Right.
There's big fucking feet, big fucking strides.
Do you think we need to cover anything else? Is there anything else you want to cover?
Give me 1 second. Let me look at my phone. That's how I remember things. Probably, but I guess we can call it good there. It's been 3 hours.
2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours? Oh, we can do another hour then.
You want to do another hour? I mean, you can go.
Your other streams do.
Yeah, I mean, you stay as long as you. Okay, so
oh shit! I just opened the YouTube. That's a lot of chat messages that I have not seen.
There's a lot of them. Tanner asks, give us the gnome pill. Smith says, gnome out.
I wish I had a photo of I finished painting a garden gnome for my mom. I've been moving him around the garden to surprise her.
Nice.
Looks really good. His name's Gordon. I just think that's another thing that Tenny brings up at his things too when he pulls the audience. Sometimes he'll do Bigfoot, sometimes he'll do gnome. Or like I think when I saw him last, he said, how many people think that after you die you can be like come back as a ghost or whatever? And then the follow-up was like, how many people think that when you die you can come back and become a gnome? And then he gets into everybody laughs, gets into the etymology of it. Gnome just means like creature in and of the earth. Just like ghost just means wisp of air or whatever. So it's like it's another thing I think about again is Wittgenstein's, like, in response to the Golden Bough, said that we must plow over language in its entirety.
Wow.
Which I feel like it's very limiting, especially this language.
Mm.
A lot of people just, like, I don't know, it had just, everybody has their own internalized definitions for things.
Mm.
And I was going somewhere with that, but gnomes are great. Like, read Among the Gnomes by Franz Hartmann. Can I put it in the show notes?
Of course.
I scanned
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. I'm not very up on my gnome lore. All I know is that when I was a kid, I used to believe that there was fairies at the end of the garden, and I had every book by Brian Froud, the illustrator.
Is
And
that
he did
the
like
guy?
good.
Is that?
He did like good fairies, bad fairies. He was also
Oh, yeah.
his son is Toby in the Labyrinth. He was like a
No way.
yeah, and collaborated with Jim Henson a lot. Did like lots of like great like fairy art and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I want to query the audience on this one. I've been wondering at what point in history did fairies as a folk creature, when were wings introduced?
When were wings introduced?
I haven't been able to find an answer to that.
If anybody in the chat knows, do let us know. Thing I found about I didn't really think, because I did a lot of like cult research, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't think about this. I think it was Tanner that mentioned it to me. I was talking to him about Guy Ballard, right? Who his whole story is, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but he's from the I Am group, created the I Am movement, and his whole story was that he was on Mount Shasta. Saint Germain appears to him and gives him a cup of cream, and then he drinks the cream, and then he's on this wild adventure, like going through all the things. And Tanner said to me like that story is like very,
it's fairy
like,
food.
Fairy lore.
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Cream is commonly, like, I was reading a lot of what's his name, Wentz, the guy who wrote the Fairy Faith in Celtic Countries in like 1911. And it's just like him traveling around Scotland, Ireland, to villages to talk to people about their fairy stories. And fascinating. Nobody, like, there's a lot of like, kind of like with any other sort of belief thing. I thought there was going to be like a concrete uniform thing that people believe, but that is not the case. A lot of people believe different things about what they actually are. But they're all like little villages that all of them make cream, and they leave cream out for there was one story about somebody being punished at like the local sort of I guess town court or whatever for like slacking on her, like leaving out cream and milk or whatever for the fairies, or like spilling too much or something.
Is that where, like, I might be being an idiot here, but is that where like the leaving out like a saucer of milk for like Santa Claus? Is that related to that?
It probably is. I brought this up to Jack Brewer once because he sent me a short film that he did the music to once about the Tooth Fairy, and it's just this kid chasing around the Tooth Fairy. It's really good little short film, but it made me wonder whether or not just the fact that we instill, at least in this country, we instill the idea into children, and it's regular to do this, that supernatural creatures like Santa or the Tooth Fairy can just come into your room at night and there's nothing you can do about it. It has some effect on like people believing they're alien abductees. It's kind of the same thing I think you're asking, the saucer milk thing.
Yeah, that's interesting actually.
Somebody much smarter than me would have to be able to answer that, because I can't.
Yeah.
But I just was wondering about that.
Another person with this kind of like the cup of cream story is Whitley Strieber.
Really?
It's got that book, The Key. I think it's called The Key. Someone will correct me in the chat if it's wrong. But is it
like The Secret?
It's the one. It's the one where he's like in a hotel room and a bloke comes in and starts telling him all this stuff. Like I'm not going to say that I've read it. I just know that the general gist of it. And I feel like I'm fairly certain in that he's given like a drink. Yeah, it's called The Key, A True Encounter. From the best-selling author of Communion comes a mysterious story of how an unknown visitor barged into Strieber's hotel room late one night and imparted extraordinary lessons in personal development and man's fate that challenge us to rethink every assumption about the meaning of life.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm fairly certain in it he's given like a drink of some kind. I'm
Yeah,
so
like,
certain that
does it make him
that's
hallucinate or something? Or
quite
is it just like
possibly.
just like a courtesy, like a gratuity thing?
I don't know. I need to read it instead of just talking about things that I haven't read. But that's
That's
oh
okay.
no, it has the oh hang on a second. This is it. I found it. Hang on. Drink.
Oh, does it-
The person comes into Whitley Strieber's hotel room late at night, has the author, which is Whitley Strieber, drink some white liquid and then leaves. When the author wakes up in the morning, he isn't certain if this was all just a dream.
Classic.
Like, isn't like that's the same thing. That's again like that's like fairy lore.
I mean, it's also like, I'm pretty sure like Adamski was given a drink to. At
Why are
maybe
they accepting all these drinks?
yeah. I mean, like, alien gives you a drink, you're probably gonna accept it.
Well,
I'd
I
be
don't
honored.
know. I'd be too nervous, I think.
Well,
I'd be
yeah,
like,
I
"Oh,
definitely would be too. I don't trust those guys.
no."
Um,
I got a question for you. What do you think is like one of the most now we're kind of veering into like UFO topic. What do you think is like one of the most compelling cases, or like just a case that you find personally like very interesting?
I was hoping you were gonna ask this. If my
Adamski was given fruits that tasted like other fruits.
what?
That's what Tana said. Adamski was given fruits that tasted like other fruits.
That's such a
Lucy
funny detail.
Jane Lucy Jane says, I would take the alien drink if there was a chance I could get off this planet.
Yeah, I like you. Like, I don't think any of the UFOs come from outer space. I think it's all right here. Like, there's no gnomes on Mars. But my personal favorite UFO story, the one I find most like just touching, compelling, there's a lot of layers, is one recounted in the Hynek UFO report from somebody who wrote to Blue Book very late, and I'll just read it. I think it's like one long paragraph too. This comes from the environs of St. Louis, Missouri, and this would be in this. Yeah, here we go. It may be a little late in trying to say I saw or believe I saw what my brother-in-law and father-in-law probably seen in 1959. I am not sure it really was there, but whatever it was. I will never forget it the longest day I live. Then Hynek says they are returning home from an errand, describing in detail exactly the route they took. He states, now this exactly what taken place. We had to go south on US 40, take a left turn to get up on the slab to go west to Westonville, Missouri. In doing so, as we came upon the slab, we made a turn. The car lights headed in the sky southeast to the north and directly south of us towards Weldon Springs, Missouri, where there is a government plant making something to do with atomic works, was a large round object spinning directly over this plant. Now, there's no other lights in that neck of the woods, or airfields, or weather balloons that would hover that low and cast the kind of light as we've seen. Sirs, I am not making the story up, because the three of us were scared to say anything, and we stopped and got out and look up at this object for at least 20 minutes before it took off in a southeasterly direction in about 10-15 seconds, just leaving a vapor trail. Now, there's a beautiful full moon that night. And the three of us stood there with our mouths open, not saying a word until it was out of sight. Then Blank spoke up and said, "Did you fellows see that thing?" I said, "Yes, but it was as if somebody else had said it for me." I was scared stiff. Nobody else said anything until we got in front. And we never spoke about what we saw that night to no one. But the three of us watched the papers, to see if anyone else had seen the thing that we did, and never read of anyone else seeing them, so we just kept quiet about the matter until I read your article about such things don't exist. Apparently an Air Force article, since this was directed at the Air Force. I wonder a lot. Did we really see it, or do people have the same vision of something at the same time? I made a sketch or drawing of what I thought we saw, but to me, I am a firm believer in seeing is believing, and yet I cannot force myself to believe that we three really did see. Now I am sure that you understand in all of this time that we are just plain people, not looking for publicity or newspaper write-up. If you do, you will have to consult with all three, because the only reason I am writing to you at this time, I still wonder about the whole thing. Was it really real or not? Now I'm not asking no one to believe this, because any sane person would say it's too fantastic. I'm sure that if someone came up to me with such a yarn of what we saw, I would say they were crazy as hell, or trying to gain something through publicity. I'm sure we three are sane and brave men. We hunt a lot in places where nobody else will go on account of the ghost stories, but I am not afraid of anything that is within reason. Please tell us if there is such a thing as we really saw. We have never told even our families. You know you can confide in us. I wonder a lot, did we really see this, or do people have the same vision of things that are not there at the same time?
Interesting.
It's so much more just like, it's so much better than any of the best cases. Like, there's just so many layers there. It's also like really sad. I really hope they became at peace with not knowing before they.
Yeah, that does. It's got like a kind of somber note to it.
And like the faith in the Air Force to tell them the truth. The line that, like, you know you can confide in us. There's like we're sane, brave men. We hunt where nobody else will because of the ghost stories. Such a great little report.
Yeah, absolutely. And very, like there's that kind of fear of maybe not fear, but like just knowing that, you know, who is going to believe you if you come forward. It's like I was saying earlier, right? It's like even with my, you know, shitty little video of what I saw, people look at that and they're like, what is that? What are you expecting me to look at? And I'm like, you know, nobody, even, you know, even with the video evidence, people aren't gonna believe you. I feel like that's why I take a very, like, I don't know, I try not to let my skepticism of the UFO topic, which is there because of the military intelligence involvement in UFOs. I try not to let that affect how I feel about people talking about their experiences, because sometimes I can get so frustrated with like the level of like disinformation that's been seeded out deliberately in the UFO topic that it makes me feel so frustrated that it's like, and sometimes it's very easy for that frustration, if you don't get a handle on it, to like spill over. And that's where I feel like some people go like off the deep end and they go into this real kind of like, and you see it all the time, especially on like UFO Twitter and places like that, where it's people that are like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, like all the time, constant. And it's like, it's just brutal.
Yeah, it's really sad because like there's so much. I mean, I couldn't believe when like, I mean, I checked out of all the like recent developments in the UFO world like a long time ago. I ever since the David Grush thing, I just haven't kept up on anything. I don't really care to because it's not that interesting. But like the fact that like UFO people are like becoming amateur defense policy wonks and not like reading about crazy stories from the 50s is insane to me. There's so much. There's like rich history and it's fun. You can learn stuff and it's like, it's actually fun.
Yeah.
And there's actually like one thing, I think I mentioned this in my interview with Mark, is that like I can't get over just how it's so fucking boring all of it is. There's no actual aliens. We don't know what their planet's like. Like Bedodi and everybody, there's real world building there. There's like there's a it was a fun story. It was a fun story. David Grush won't even tell us what the aliens look like.
Yeah.
So annoying. It's like, yeah. I when I realized that like all of this none of these new government UFO groups or like any of the so-called whistleblowers or the influencers have even fucking floated the idea of investigating civilian reports.
No.
Which is such a fuck you to the civilian UFO world, and they just keep. I don't get it. It's like a hamster wheel thing. It's really sad. Doesn't seem very fulfilling, which is why it just leads to fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Well, and I think a lot of that comes from like people whose interest in this topic really started with people like Lou Elizondo.
Yeah,
that's kind of like what got them in the door,
Mhm.
which is like, you know, I hate it's so embarrassing. But like I remember watching the was it the 60 Minutes thing that he was on,
Mhm.
you know, way back when. I remember watching it being like, oh my God, we're gonna get told about the aliens. I knew this, you know, I've been a friggin' UFO nerd for years, you know, like was obsessed with Area 51, hence why I've been there.
Mhm.
Was obsessed with like the Roswell story, was obsessed with Bob Lazar, you know, would listen to Coast all the time and like was like really, really like into it to a point where I was like, didn't necessarily believe in everything, but was like, you know, I was a real kind of like, I was proper UFO pilled.
Yeah.
And then just, you know, I think afterwards I then veered like really, really hard into the like hard skepticism. Like this is all bullshit. I hate this whole thing.
It's like an overcorrection.
Yes.
Yes.
Everything
Many such cases.
Yeah, everything needs to be torn down, you know, like it just like a fury, a rage. And now I feel like I'm at a point where I'm like, some of this is bullshit. Some of it's quite compelling.
Mhm.
You know, make what you will of it. But I feel like I see a lot of like scorched earth people.
Yeah.
Especially people after like the whole Lou Elizondo thing who kind of got into it through him and feel that they've in a way been like manipulated by him.
Yeah, they feel duped. They feel like idiots. Yeah. I can totally see why anybody would be mad about it. Like I was corresponding with this guy, Will, from Wales. And he got into it in 2017 with the Elizondo stuff. And we just chatted just about it throughout the whole thing. And he was really fucking upset with himself, like after 3-ish years, because he was like, I'm an idiot. Like I don't know why I fell for this. And that was, but he was like giving it up. And I was like, no, that means you like won.
Yeah.
Like getting out, like that's a lot of people can't do that, admit they're wrong and do the thing. Although I encouraged him that like, you don't have to give it all of this. I don't know, it's a big learning curve, emotionally too. Like it takes a while to like sort of get to a point where you can actually find value in all of the UFO stuff, like regardless of like the Tenny mindset.
Yeah,
I think his philosophy and all of this is great.
Yeah, and there's so many like different cases, and like the people are the thing. Like, and this is the thing. I think Rob Christopherson said this on like one of his podcasts. Rob Christopherson's the host of Our Strange Skies. If anybody doesn't listen to that, it's a good podcast. And he says like, I can't remember. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but it's something along the lines of the UFOs are there to teach us more about ourselves. It's more about like they're there. It's like the humans that are involved in it and what these stories tell us about ourselves,
right,
and our relationships with other people, and you know, so that it's like, you know, all of those, you know, take for example like Simonton and his space pancakes, you know, stuff like that, you know, like those kind of cases are like so fun. But I feel like just the total, like I say infiltration, but it's really been there since the beginning. I guess now it's like more overt because this is the era of ufology where it is all kind of like coming from government, right?
Yeah, which is crazy, by the way.
yeah, and you know, people within government are really kind of pushing this. But it's like those stories, you know, back then of like you know, just somebody having a sighting were fascinating, but the whole, I don't know, it just feels like sometimes it feels very tainted, but I don't think like beyond being able to enjoy it.
Right. a lot of people, I don't know how they like the people who are like following or into the Elizondo AARO whatever. Like I think I posted once that I think that like Elizondo, Mellon, Grush, like all those guys should be they are responsible for turning the extremely rich and interesting and colorful history of like just UFOs in general into this gray, vague national security apparatus thing.
Yeah.
And they should never be forgiven for that.
Yeah.
Like UFOs just ruined for tens, thousands of people. Like it's unforgivable.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a fan of those guys if you didn't know.
No. Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, I like torture myself because I'm always on Twitter and I always end up in these like UFO spaces, and it's just people having like the same back and forth discussions.
Yeah, deciding who to target harass next. And,
who's gonna be targeted, harassed, who's a shill, who's working for the CIA, who am I gonna dox next? You know, and it's like it's also interesting as well because you go in there and it's like not one person's ever talking about UFOs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
spaces where like any of them are actually talking about this is a compelling case. This is interesting. Let's talk about this. It's always like a high drama, and it becomes almost like addictive.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, like from like a voyeur standpoint, because I think I've spoken in like 2 Twitter spaces in my entire life, and one of them was to ask Rick Doty a question, which didn't get a great answer, but anyway. But I kind of like lurk in them. I don't say anything. I just like listen to what's going on. But it's just like, God, and I'm like, you guys are like, this can't be good for the psyche. I mean, I know it's not good for my psyche because I'm sitting there listening to it. But like these people that just sit there all day arguing.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. It's in lieu of like, and so it's very hard to like find like meaning in real everyday life in America or whatever. Like you feel like you're doing something important, and you actually like a lot of people call like internet, social media stuff like the attention economy. I think it's really like the emotional, like that's what it's really trying to tap into, is to make you feel something, and you get the emotional sort of flows that you would get in real life if the social media apps didn't exist. And it's simulation basically. But it's the sort of, I don't know, it's very dark actually. It's really sad. Because I mean, it's like, again, there's no even like alien lore. It's just fucking is this shit the fucking fake whistleblowers said that like and like there's anything new. It sucks.
No, there's not anything. There's not anything. It's like that. There was that other whistleblower that came out a couple of weeks ago. It was a bit of like a damp squib. He kind of came on and did like an 8-hour Twitter space where he answered loads and loads of questions. But he was just making up. He was just making stuff up.
Oh, right? This is the guy from the James Fox documentary.
Jason Sands, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like the new whistleblower. But like it's you listen to him and it's like there was one bit that interested me specifically because of like research I've done around people like Corey Goode and this whole idea of secret space program, off-planet civilizations. But he got asked whether or not he knows anything about the 20 and back program, which is what they all claim to be part of, where they go to Mars,
work for 20 years, come back, get de-aged. Yeah,
exactly. And he was like, and his answer was like, yeah, I think there was a program. I can't remember the details of it, but what I know was really, really bad. And it's like to me, I was like, he's basically going like, oh, I'm not sure of the details. I'm gonna have to work this into my story at some point. I just want to leave it a little bit vague for now.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but he was just repeating, like, it was just all the repeated stuff. It was like all the crash sites, you know, all of the recovered alien bodies, just all of the shit that's been pushed out since like the very early 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
And the crazy thing is that new things are like still happening. I mean, like I saw some very weird stuff. Like Tenney investigated some Michigan sightings of like people seeing like a thing that like had a fish tank for a chest and a bent metal pipe for legs. And like
Good
multiple people saw it, like independent of each other.
That's interesting.
I
That's kind
see-
of like Sam the Sandown Clown-esque type vibe.
like I saw these things that I saw 4 of them. I call them ghost ships, where it
Right.
was the first one I saw, I was out back with my coworker, whose name is funnily Orion. And I was showing him drones because like I was very open about my weirdness, like Tenny. I was showing everybody at work. I'd drag him out back to show him weird stuff that was happening. And a lot of them saw stuff. And I was showing Orion drones as like a teaching thing. Like these are drones, these are not UFOs. And when we were looking at them, like in the night sky, this sort of this gray, very clearly like gray, translucent, like rectangle, kind of like that, with 3 big, sort of pale orange lights down the thing. It's probably 3 feet long. Whips over the building and is spinning, and then just sort of stops and then just fades away.
Holy shit.
And I say that, yeah, they I don't really call them lights because they weren't emitting light, which is another interesting part. But yeah, we stopped mid-sentence. I was like, please tell me you saw that. And he did. And months later, I saw another similar thing where I never heard reports like this either. And I saw at least 3 of these. I was same spot out back at work, smoking, looking up at the night sky. It was slow. And only way I wrote in my notes, like right after it happened, that it looked like one little part of the sky started twisting.
Right.
And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see another one of these like translucent, like the gray is like, it's like a compressed fog is what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one had a bunch of like littler orange lights, but it looked more like, I don't know, like a paper airplane, like aerodynamic, and was just going shoo, 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 traveling west. And then I saw it for about 9 seconds before it disappeared. And then I saw one more just like days later over my house when I got home from work, and it was like probably 8 feet long. It was like one long sort of thing, and it had like dozens and dozens of teeny lights, and it was moving really slow. And then that one disappeared too, which I'd never heard reports like that before, but I definitely saw these things.
That's crazy.
As I saw, there's one night where there's a color changing lightning.
Right.
My friend Maria, like there was okay, so this is back when all this started in like summer 2017. My friend Miranda would come over because some nights when the sky was clear, the whole sky would just like sparkle, with like star size, like just little sparkles.
Are you in an area that's got like less light pollution?
Less than most places, yeah.
Right.
So we just like post up in the driveway and just look at the sky. And because it was so pretty, I cannot tell you. One of my videos I have is of this, and I love looking at it. It's so cool, like different colors too. Just like the entire sky covered in little sparkles, and it lasts for like an hour or two, and then it'd go away. It happened probably 8-12 times. But there was one night where Miranda pointed out in between the trees these lightning flashes, but it was coming from the ground.
Right.
And it was always the same spot, but it would change color.
Right.
And so that lasted like 1 hour the first night or whatever, and then it stopped. And then I was out there myself by myself the next night, and it was all red, bright red flashes from the same spot. And I figured it'd stop, but it didn't. It was like 1 a.m. and I was like, I got to go fucking find where this is coming from. So I go out and drive like I think it was in Decatur area, if that means anything to people listening, of Michigan. It's pretty close where the Sister Lakes monster was seen in the 60s.
Nice.
And I was noticeably getting closer after like an hour and a half. But the problem was the closer that you got to the source, very rural roads. So you can only make a turn like every mile. So it got harder to get in the right to go in the right direction, but noticeably closer. And I was not the only person out there doing it. I talked to a couple people who were like sitting at a stoplight waiting for the next flash so they knew which way to go. And I talked to them for a minute, just like, this shit's crazy, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, they were like a little bit older than me. And then we decided to split up and go different ways. Didn't see them again, but like I was getting fucking close, man. And then a fog started rolling in.
Right.
And every flash made it look like it was coming from all around me.
Right.
So I had no idea which way to go anymore. Then I had to get out of the fog to regain my bearings, and the sun was coming up and it stopped. I think I was close though. And I realized that My phone was dead. Basically no gas, and I had no idea where I was. So lucky I got out of that. But yeah, that should. And I was like, I got home, I got the map out of the basement. I was like, next time I'm gonna be prepared. I'm finding where this is coming from. Never showed up again.
Typical.
Yeah, there's very weird shit still happening. Just
I feel like I've only ever seen that one thing.
Mhm.
That's all I've ever seen, and I've like never experienced anything else really. I can't remember like having. I've seen like things in the sky that I'm like, what is that? But I
Mhm.
don't. But I like things that I think would probably have like a plausible explanation.
Right, most of them do.
Nothing that seems like kind of like, and nothing that would compel me to go grab a camera.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you gotta actually experience it.
Yeah. Yeah. But this one that I saw over Area 51 is still like to this.
That is crazy. Like, I mean, what kind of military thing could that be?
Well, I'm gonna see if I can find the video because I know I've got it here somewhere. But again, people are gonna look at it and they're gonna go, "This is nothing." You know, like I've had this reaction whenever I've tried to. Okay, right, I got it. Okay. Please be nice. This is my UFO video. Okay?
What year is this?
2015,
Okay.
October 2015. Now, what I would say, can you see my mouse?
Mhm.
Can you see this area here?
1 second, zooming in. Yes.
Okay, so to give the people watching this a you know where I am, this road here is the road that leads you to one of the entrances of Area 51. This is the mountain range, right? So beyond there, like where that sun is effectively what's known as Area 51. This is all restricted airspace, right? You can't fly over here
Right.
in your
Right.
plane without being, so what I'm explaining is here, and you can't see it on this video as clearly as I did, but it was basically a silver, and you can kind of, I mean, I can see it on my screen, I don't know if anyone else can, but it was a silver, what I would describe now as a silver cigar shaped craft. Again, I'm not saying this is aliens, I'm just saying that it existed, and it would change from one thing and it would then go into three things, and then it would then go back to. So let's just watch the video, and we'll see. You'll see what I mean, right? So it's like it was one thing, then it became like three things. You can see it here.
That jittering is interesting.
Yeah, but it didn't flicker like that in real life. It was like
it's a camera effect.
Yeah, because this was like 6 there.
Right.
You can see it a little there.
Camera doesn't know where to focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because as you can see, the sun's going down. I can't get it, but it was clear as anything.
It's so pretty. It looks like an alien world.
Oh, it's it's lovely. But it's and I've shown it to people so many fucking times, and everyone's like, I don't know. I don't know what the bit is. You can kind of you can see it that you can see that is something there, right?
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
That is,
Yeah, it's,
but that's the strangest thing that I've ever seen. But again, it's over Area 51, so it's got to be some form of like military technology. But what it is fascinating because what could
it possibly be?
Take from that can be like one, or whether it was a perception thing on my behalf that it was really just one thing, but my eyes were making it look like three separate things,
or it's like an artifact of viewing it through the atmosphere or something.
Like when I was looking at it, I swear to God, it was one cylinder that would then move into two bits. It would have like, it was almost like two things would come off it and then they would merge in. So I don't know whether it was like three crafts that were then kind of doing like a merging formation in the sky or something like that. I don't know. Tenny says it was worth a balloon.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, can't bother yourself worrying about it.
No.
I also don't think that if we haven't gotten photographic or videographic proof of any UFO shit, we're not gonna.
Yeah.
Like it's I guess that's a trickster element of it. Like I like like if anything that's like everything's going to be either too blurry to tell what it is, or it's going to be too good to be true.
Yeah.
So it's also not proof of anything. Like there was a NASA spokesperson in the 60s who said that a photograph is not a measurement.
Yeah.
And especially when we're dealing with something like unexplained phenomena, like with the real down to earth thing like Bigfoot it is, but when like they don't prove anything. I gave up on the UFO photo video thing a long time ago, and I never really cared that much. But I do like the fake ones.
Yeah.
I like the good hoax ones. I like the faker the better, in my opinion.
Some of the hoax
they're sick. They look awesome.
I'm thinking about like I think I said this to Tanner when it happened, but it was the Miami Mall aliens thing that happened like
I didn't follow that
at the beginning of this year, but I was like, that's the kind of thing that like if that had happened in like the 1960s, Gray Barker would have gotten like 3 books out of that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I personally didn't see anything. I watched it once and I was like, this is stupid.
Or the Las Vegas alien one, you know, that one.
Which one?
The one, the kid that was like, aliens landed in my backyard.
I vaguely remember this, yeah.
Yeah, it was that was quite a funny, like, you know, I don't think it was real, but
right.
You know, had TV crews at his house and had like a big circle in the sand where he said a craft had landed, and you know, like
just like old times. That's great.
Yeah. You know, let's just those are way more interesting.
Yeah, I love those. I mean, like another one of my favorites is I found it in the UFO clipping service. I think it was from the 70s. Article was called UFOs Nothing to Sniffle At. And basically this lady tells a story about like some aliens landing in her bushes, and they come out with a giant like sort of aerosol can, and she scolds them because that's bad for the atmosphere. But it cures her cold, and she demands to keep it, but they won't let her keep it. And she also greets him as "Hello, Mr. UFO."
Nice.
Which is very good. And it's like her like scolding the aliens, then being mad at them for not giving her their can.
Yeah, see, that's
like fucking great shit. That's what media monopolies have taken from us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna wrap it up because I don't want to keep you too long, but I'm gonna ask you.
Wait, I gotta ask you one first.
Oh God, go on.
What was your most compelling case to you?
Gosh, I'm trying to think. Can I say
like a personal favorite?
Well, I feel like my most. Okay. Well, my most personal compelling one is the one that I've got the personal connection to, which is the UFO flap that happened in my town. And I kind of eventually, I was like, do I want to do a video on this at some point? Because I think it's so interesting. It's such a, like, there were so many news articles of this, and nobody seems to know about it. They interviewed so many people in my town before I came here and said that we might be on a ley line, and that's why we've got like all kinds of weirdness. But I was like, do I want to do this, or do I want to tell everybody like the kind of town where I live? I was like, you know, I might have to do it. That's probably the most that's the most like compelling to me.
Yeah.
I don't. Gosh. There's ones that I enjoy. Like I enjoy like Sam the Sandown Clown, right? That's just like it. That's
I just got the AFU book. I just got it.
Yeah, they're just like enjoyable cases. I
don't like the vibe of that guy. I think he's creepy.
He's a little bit, it's a little bit creepy, you know, with the kids involved and whatnot. But I feel like for me, the most compelling cases are the ones that you just fucking stumble upon,
right?
That barely anybody has heard of, and you're like on newspapers just digging about, and you're like, what's this? And then you like unravel it, and you can find like 10 more different accounts that came from like the same time period and same location. That's what like I find to be compelling, because there was no motivation back then for people to be like, what is the motivation for somebody to write into a newspaper a letter? Because this is why it's interesting, because over the space of like a year, all of these people were writing letters into the local newspaper being like, I just want to respond to this person who wrote a letter 2 weeks ago. I was in that place and I saw the exact same thing. And it's like, what's the motivation there to be lying?
Right.
There really isn't any. There's no financial motive there whatsoever.
You don't even get any jollies from it because you can't get the response.
Also, it's a local newspaper whose readership is like, next to nothing comparative to anything else. That's the stuff that I'm like, that's in terms of like there being a phenomena, so to speak. That's the stuff that I find to be most compelling.
My favorite in that vein that I've come across somewhat recently, I was going through the humanoid catalog and I found the newspaper article they cite in Pasadena, I think, or the Palisades, where legendary proto-beats novelist John Fonte had a fucking insane close encounter outside his house.
Nice.
With, there's a conveyor belt of these hundreds of little creatures, and they left behind coffee. It was fucking crazy, and he wrote it into the newspaper.
Wild. Oh, there is another one. Oh shit! There is another one actually, but I don't know whether I'm going to be able to find it. And it was I have to look through my newspapers thing and look for.
Oh, I got my let's see, what is it? I hope it's in. I got the reissue of the Billy Meyer UFO Contact from the Pleiades.
Oh, nice! I've got that on my bookshelf. I haven't read it.
I sold my original copy, unfortunately, but they reissued it, and it's most of it's pretty good. It's not a 1-to-1, but it's $30. So I love those photos.
Oh, I can't wait. Is it this woman? Oh yeah, this was it. A woman from Birmingham. She was called Cynthia Appleton.
Okay.
Hang on a second. Let me share. And she was having a baby from Venus. This is in 1959.
Wait, hold on. This is the biggest crackpot has ever.
Yeah, she's having the world's first space child. Awesome. She stroked her long blonde hair tied up in a ponytail and went on, "Of course, my husband is the baby's father, but really the child would belong to a race who live on the planet Venus." Just great.
Where'd she get that? What year is this?
1959, so she's contactee era. But she just kind of she was just from Birmingham and then she just disappeared. This is another
weird.
one. These ones are just there's a couple of news articles.
Just as the spaceman prophesied.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, they're just kind of just weird, interesting ones. And I swear there was another one, but I can't remember what it's called. And it was along the same lines of this, but I don't think it was in Birmingham. I think it was I can't remember. Someone called Vivenus.
That's awesome.
She was from 1969, and she was a young. She was a.
Sounds like a sexual organ.
I can't remember the details of it. I have loads of these
bignewspapers.com head.
Oh, massive. I want to address this as well because this is about what I said earlier. This is literally letters to other people. So in terms of getting attention, it's going to be very, very, very minuscule. These are people that are I just want to talk to this person because I saw the same thing, and and I thought I was going crazy, but I actually saw this thing.
And it's an actual labor. You got to write a letter.
Yeah, I don't think that there's of course there's some that are. This isn't. When I lay this all out, eventually you'll see it really doesn't have any of the elements of a hoax. These people definitely saw something. What that was, I couldn't tell you.
Right.
But it's but yeah.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask you one last question. What researchers do you recommend to people who are kind of getting into this topic? Don't really know where to start.
It's hard to go wrong with Mark Pilkington. Not just Mirage Men either. A lot of the 14 Times stuff. Sort of just little articles here and there, everywhere. But yeah, great stuff. That was a reading that book is obviously a big fucking moment for me and everybody else.
Yeah.
Obviously our friends of the show, Jack and Erica, Jack Brewer, Erica Lukes, also a friend of the show. I feel like you say this every week. Tanner Boyle. Let's see what else.
Not to put you on the spot.
Me?
It's true.
I don't consider myself a researcher. I consider myself a guy.
Just a guy.
Just a normal, very regular guy.
And if people want to find you, where can they find you?
B Pleasies on Twitter. Sound it out. And it's about it. Not my house, ideally, unless we're friends.
What we should do before you go is also plug your amazing t-shirt store. See, this is why you like duped me with the fucking bio at the beginning, because I was like, well, he does do art. So
okay. Yeah.
I was like, and I don't know you that well. So I was like, I didn't want to like question and be like,
that's so
are you having me on?
I thought you were gonna recognize it.
No, you took advantage of my good nature. Yeah, exactly. But these are so good. And like I cannot tell you. We've had this conversation, right? But Art Bell wore this t-shirt in like
December 12, 1997.
Exactly. And it was captured on a webcam, and ever since then people have been trying to figure out exactly what was on the t-shirt. Well, Bradley figured it out.
Well, some guy on Reddit figured it out, but
well, there you go. Well,
I made the inquiry.
You made the t-shirt as well, so you can buy that. We've got UFO cover up. Like, I mean, genuinely, like I am just like we were talking, and there's like such a massive, you were saying like there's not enough good UFO t-shirts.
No, like, dude, there's not, dude.
Yeah, but there are now.
Yeah, there are now. I'm either like trying to just like I'm doing one new one every week through the end of summer is the project.
These are just so good.
And I'm trying my best not to violate copyright stuff.
Also very reasonably priced.
I like that one a lot. Those Franz Barden fucking elemental photos are so sick.
Very, very good.
But yeah, this is the one that originally made me want to do this, because I saw this in an issue of Pursuit, and I was like, that's so sick. There's probably like 10 of those ever.
Yeah, Tana says I bought 4 of these recently and haven't stopped wearing them. Yeah, every time I do video call with him, I always see him wearing a different one.
I just got myself a Falkville Spaceman one. Oh, also get the Ghost Stories one. It's the octopus one. The Ghost Stories one.
Also buy this one.
That's a good one. Yeah,
would recommend. Yeah, they're great. They're really, really, really great. And you should be very proud of them, because you are doing a service to us weirdos who need good t-shirts.
They're for the real heads. They're intended for the real heads.
Exactly.
Also, I do them all on my phone. When I get a computer that can run Photoshop, it is over for these hoes.
You do all of these on your phone?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, it's like a mixed thing. Like sometimes I'll like take photos of things, then I'll edit it on my phone. There's a lot of extra steps, basically.
God damn. Wow, you're doing great.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. It's been a fascinating discussion. Yeah, pleasure. Exactly. There you go. That was actually unintentional.
Never gets old.
But we'll have to have you back on at some point to explore some other topics.
I'm sure I'll have oh wait, hold on. I have one more Bigfoot thing.
Go on.
I forgot this one word. Fucking check this out. It's a great page in Bill Munn's book. Oh, it's like a fucking
hang on. I'll get rid of that. Oh, I've got one of these. You gave me one of these.
Oh, a little sticker?
Yeah, where is it?
My friend Miranda got me a little Canon mini printer thing, and I send one of those in with anybody I send a shirt to. That's all I use it for.
There you go.
It's a sticker too, by the way.
Is it?
Somebody shocked me to tell me that. Like they stuck it on. They sent me a photo of it on their luggage case.
Are you serious?
I had no idea. I had no idea.
Bloody hell.
Stoked about that.
Well, I did not know that, and that is very exciting. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
It's an honor. Like following up Martin Cannon. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it's been a wild. I've done this for like 9 weeks now. This is the last one. You're the last guest until the end of June. That's it.
Season finale.
Yeah, season finale. Taking a long break. But I would definitely have you back on. We'll figure out another topic to talk about. Well, we're going to be going to a Bigfoot convention, so maybe we could talk about
that. Yeah, we got to record for ghost stories from there, by the way.
Oh, do we?
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting.
I had this idea to do like a tag team thing with like all of us in a room, like me, you, and the boys with like not enough mics, and we just tag in and out.
Oh, I should bring my microphone. Well, I was going to bring my camera because I thought I could film something that could be quite interesting. Mm-hmm. I don't have a great camera. It's just like this little like it's like a little like vloggy type thing, but I don't like vlog. But it's quite cool. It's like got a nice like
That's sick.
It films stuff.
It's better than what I got.
Yeah, it's well, you can film good stuff on your phone nowadays. So
things crack.
Yeah, my phone's not great. Cool. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you for coming on, and I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Appreciate having me on promoting the store. It was when I was watching the one from 2-3 weeks ago where you promoted with Jack, where you promoted the store at the end. Yeah. I was like.
I have to.
It's very nice.
They're like the best t-shirts ever.
Thank you.
Like this t-shirt's quite good. I feel like I haven't shown people this.
Oh yeah, this is great.
This is Flatwoods Monster and Bigfoot, Braxy and Bigfoot. But it's Beavis and Butthead, obviously. So it is a great t-shirt. Very, very beloved. Okay, cool. I'm gonna kick you out. You're free to leave.
Well, good news though.
Go on.
Just by talking about UFO sightings, I've already gotten a number of DMs from people telling me about the
nice.
UFO sightings.
There you go. More things to investigate.
Yeah, this is very tenny brain stuff.
There you go.
Just enjoy that it's weird. I'm not going to get answers to anything. But this is the point I was going to make earlier. It's a good one to end on.
Go on.
Tenny said at the UFO conference that I was at last year, the year before, that like. I think I know it verbatim by now. Just enjoy that it's weird. I don't think we're going to get answers to anything. I don't think we're going to figure out how the secrets of the universe exactly. But like, even if like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, like even if none of them are real, then maybe it's some type of like subconscious mechanism that we developed over how many years to basically partake and share our weird shit and their experiences with weird shit together and talk about it openly and honestly, which means like literally talk about how we exist within the universe as human beings, which means even if they're not there, they're very important.
See, See, they're talking about this makes me kind of like revive my love for the topic. Because it's so easy to get bogged down in all of the things that you don't like about it.
Yeah, it's a lot not to like about it too. Also, it was very touching to hear Martin Cannon say that you and Erica Lukes were like the things that got for him.
Oh my god, it's too much. It's like oh my gosh. Wild.
Cool. That's very cool. Very excited for his book.
Yeah, me too. I genuinely can't wait.
That was a great interview.
Yeah, I wasn't going to have him on for a part 2 as well.
Anyway, let's cut it off. We're not gonna.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna kick you off. Thank you so much,
yeah,
and I will definitely have you back on soon.
All right.
Cool. Bye.
See ya.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate you guys showing up every single week and participating in the chat, and it's been so much fun. And when I first started this, I feel like I was like super nervous. And I didn't really know how to like do the streams, but I feel like they've been I feel like they've been really fun. We've had like nice conversations, and I feel like I want it to be like I don't want it to be like overly skeptic and like dogmatic. I want to bring people in, like, even if you're not a Bigfoot believer, you can come and listen to people talking about it. I want to have like just interesting conversations, because not everything has to be debunked all the time. Not everything, we don't need to get like bogged down in hardcore skepticism. So this is the last stream until I think June 22nd is when I'm planning on being back and streaming again. What was I going to say? Oh, I have a new video. If you are a Patreon, you will be able to watch it. This is in addition to the video that I just released. If you haven't gone and seen it, you can go watch it now. It's about a cold case, missing persons case from the 1950s, the missing Pattersons. Yes, I know I put an apostrophe in the word Pattersons and I shouldn't have. Please leave me alone. But there's another video that I'm just finishing up. Well, I say finishing, I've got another 10 minutes to edit of it. It's only like half an hour long, and it's a really interesting case of a very small cult in Vancouver in 1935 that also, they called themselves Solar Temple, but not like the order of the Solar Temple that killed people, because it's not, they're not related. But this case is like super, super, super interesting. I think that it's one of the most no, probably not like the most drama filled case, but it's while I was editing it, I was like, this is good. This is an interesting case. I don't think I've ever seen anyone else cover it apart from like a couple of news articles. So if you are a patron, you will get that either tomorrow night or Monday morning. It will definitely be then, because I will be doing stuff on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I leave the country for a little bit. But I will be back. Oh, what was I saying? I'm not good at this without a guess. If you're a patron, you'll get it Sunday night or Monday night. If you are not a patron, it will be out around the 16th of May. So if you're on Patreon, you're gonna be getting it like almost 2 weeks early. So that's an incentive to join the Patreon, and there's some other stuff on there as well. And you can message me on there. You can ask me questions about stuff. You can suggest things. I try and be communicative on Patreon. So if there's anything that you want to talk about, you can talk to me. Can't even talk. You can talk to me on there, because apart from that, I will be going a little bit quiet until June. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to wrap this up in a minute. But in June, towards the end of June, I'm hoping to have at least one new video out about a haunting case, a socialite haunting in 1969, cursed by a tarot reader, no less. And then in July, there will be another video about another cult from the 1930s. Can you believe it? Shocking. And then I'll be kind of like trying to work on something a little bit more modern. But I'm also interested in the kind of videos that you guys want to see. I appreciate and love you all. Thank you for being here and participating every week. It has genuinely been great. And I will see you all in June. Goodbye.